Hey, YouTube. It is I, Metal Madness 66 YouTube channel with your host, Jeff here. What's happening, everybody? Very special day today. Really cool guest that I was going to be all secretive about introducing to you. And then I realized, oh shit, he's on the thumbnail and his name's on the thumbnail. So much for the surprise. But today we've got uh guitarist, composer, lyricist, producer, maybe family therapist. I'm not sure, but this guy wears a lot of hats, and the biggest one that he wears is he's a Bay Area thrash legend. Please welcome Craig Locicero to the stream. If I can get him in here, there he is. Hey, Craig,
Hey,
what's happening, man?
hey, dude, I got a lot of hats. You have no idea.
A lot of
I got,
hats.
I
I
got,
was.
dude, I got a pile over here. I got a bunch in my room
You
upstairs.
do wear hats all the time. That's true.
I do. Well, I do because I usually wear my hair back too. So I'm like a
Well, you
hat,
know
a
how
hair
it is
back
when
and
your hair
hats.
gets long.
Try to
It's
save,
in your.
try to save my face from too much sunlight for the most
There you
part. There's
go.
no sunlight in this room right now. I got it darkened with a ring light. Whatever. We're
What's weather like out there in Hayward,
cold,
California?
cold and
Cold.
clear today. It's gonna rain a lot, which we need in California. And where are you
Cool.
located?
I am in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where the Amish are. You ever hear that?
Yeah, fuck yeah. No, I've
Yeah,
I've
man.
I've
Have you
gone
been
through
there?
Lancaster before
Have
plenty of
you
times.
really?
Stage,
No shit.
we get stage coaches and yeah,
Oh yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
we I'm about an hour 15 northwest of Philly, about an hour north, almost straight due south is Baltimore, 3 hours New York City. So I've been very fortunate because I've gotten to see a lot of shows. But one show I missed in 1988 in Philadelphia. Oh, I think you know what that show was. I didn't even
Ultimate
know about it.
Revenge,
Yes,
Dose.
man. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But look, everybody that knows you now in my on that watches me or is checking this out probably knows you from Forbidden. I mean, that's the logical thing. But you got a lot of other stuff going on, and you had a lot of stuff going on in between the interim when Forbidden went dark, or rather, I should say, has been dark since what 2010, 11 ish, basically.
Uh, 12. Our last show
Okay.
was in Santiago, Chile in 2012.
Was that when you went? When did you go over to play with Voivod and Testament in Japan? Was that
That was
10?
2008. That was the first
Oh,
year
8.
we were back, and
Okay.
that was like I think October of 2008.
Okay. And that was when Glenn played with you, right?
Right. That was our last
Okay.
show with Glenn. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is all pre Omega Wave stuff. So
Yeah.
we're gonna
Well, that
get to for
is Omega. Yeah, that
that
was. But Omega Wave came out in
10.
2010, right around this time, maybe a little bit earlier. I probably missed an anniversary of that because it's been 12 years.
Okay. Cool. We're gonna get to Forbidden. We gotta go there at some certain point here. But what I wanted to do is give you an opportunity to talk about all the other things you're involved in. You got like 3 kind of active things going on. And the first thing I wanted to jump into was the Bay Area Interthrational. I keep saying Bay Area International, but it's Interthrational. Tell me a little bit about how that came about, what the thought process was behind it, how you became the driving force. I think you were the force behind it pretty much. And how you feel that went down. I mean, you played a show at Dynamo in Holland, right? In
Yeah,
August, and then you just did one a month ago at
a month ago today, I think it would have
yeah.
been. Yeah, a month ago today. Well,
So
I
that
mean,
that that show was much more extensive though than the one in at Dynamo though, right?
every day I think I'm recovered. I'm like I'm not quite recovered yet, but
Yeah, go
no.
for it.
To answer your first question, how it came about, a few years back in 2000, maybe 2019, the organizer of the new Dynamo Metal Fest, which is not the old original Dynamo Open Air, Andre, who we all knew, who was the guy who organized that, retired from doing it. He had his reasons, and he was done. So these were kids back in the day that went to those shows that ended up buying the rights to the name and trying to do it, and keep the legacy of Dynamo and Andre's legacy alive. So they were doing it, and it was small. Uh, up to a point, but then they got the old location of the original Dynamo, and which is a gigantic ice ring for big hockey matches. It's
Right.
outdoor ice ring, and also where people go to ice skate in the winters in Dynamo. I mean, not in Eindhoven. Eindhoven.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Eindhoven.
so he'd approached me on an email saying, "Hey, I would like you to, or would you be interested in doing a Bay Area thrash tribute show for 2020? It'll be 30 years." Basically 30 years. It would have been 31 since Forbidden played. We played in 2000.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we played in 89. Yeah, we played in 89. So, but we went back and played in 1990, where we did a headline show at this place called the Caracat. We played with Sacred Reich and Sepultura when Sepultura was about to drop Beneath the Remains. I don't think it was even
Ah,
out.
nice.
It was just about. So we have our history there. And I said, well, that sounds kind of boring as it sits when you say a tribute show. That doesn't really, excite me. But let me think about it. Tell you what, why don't I fly out there and check out what you have going for your new Dynamo Metal Fest, because I wasn't that familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just get a lay of the land and see if I get some ideas. So I did so, and it happened. Who happened to be playing at that one was Armored Saint, who played with us at the original one, who was fucking incredible. They were
Dude,
incredible.
that
Like,
band is just so fucking killer live, man.
they are. But we better stay on subject. We
Okay.
can go off on that, but I'll tell you. But they watching them and watching John Bush really inspired me to take another kind of approach to the whole thing. And my first idea was, I want to get different members of bands to do this Bay Area thrash stuff. But if you're in a Bay Area thrash band, you cannot play your own song. You absolutely are not. If you recorded that, you're not playing on it. You're standing on the side and watching that.
Right.
So the original idea was that sounded really good, and everybody was excited. So we were looking at 2020. We were starting to set it all up. Everything, tickets were bought and purchased, I should say, and then things were going that way. And then COVID happened
Yeah.
in the beginning of 2020, and obviously that could push everything back. And then it
Killed
got pushed
everything.
back again in 2021. And so the lineup was constantly an ever shifting thing. But I had you asked me, if I'm heading this by myself, that would not be the case. It was brought to me originally. So from that standpoint, I'm heading it, and I make the final decisions on some things. But everyone, I got Chris Contos, I got
Chris.
Mark Hernandez, and Harold O, and with Steve Smythe and guys. Steve couldn't make the European trip.
Mm-hmm.
He had things going on, some personal stuff with that he had to take care of at just that week that he had to do, so he couldn't make
Right.
it. So we get different people, like Mike DeLeon came in, and then Josh Christian, Mike DeLeon from filling some of the illegals, and
Yep.
MOD, and then Josh Christian. I had him on tap for the year before because I knew that Toxic was a pretty popular band in Holland, in particular. So I had all these people, and then it just became like, okay, this is getting a little bigger than maybe I know what to do with. But we pulled it off, and we were gonna have. What was cool is the guys in Death Angel were still they stuck around because they played the day before we played it.
Right.
I know, so
Yep.
they stuck around, and they were super excited and got involved. And three of the guys played, and Ted hung out, and then Damien
Yep.
goes right home. Damien's like, I'm out of here, But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
Ted doesn't do covers, so he really didn't get involved in that shit, which is funny. But all the other guys played, and the guys in Lamb of God,
Super
Randy.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Randy was super. First time I approached him about, I'm like, dude, we're playing the same festival. Do you want to do this thing? I kind of explained it to him. He's like, well, my only question to you is, are you playing Fight Fire with Fire? I'm like, well, I
Boom.
hadn't thought of it yet,
We
but
are
since
now.
you mentioned it, yeah, I'm like, I'll do it for you. And he's like, fuck yeah, then I'm in. So, and then Phil Demo was with them, so I had him come out, and there was many people that were going to be involved. And then it's just, you have to, I think the idea behind that, we can just sum it up, is it's a moving target of people. It's never going to be exactly the same people, but I have my core guys that will mostly always be there for me, but sometimes they might not be able to be there. And I don't want to do it all the time. I think to preserve the specialness of it, you can't do it too much. I'm open to like basically maybe next year if it works out playing a couple more festivals, then I'm going to cut it off and not do it anywhere else besides every other year, you know, if that, in the Bay Area, and then keep it in the Bay Area and Eindhoven, because I feel like those are the two epicenters of thrash metal in Europe and America, and I don't want to like cheapen it. And that's easier said than done. There's a moment where things, the shark gets jumped, and you don't want that. But what it ended up being each time we've done it is the biggest smiles on faces I've seen in a long time. When we played Dynamo, I wasn't really sure how it was going to go, but by the end of the show, that crowd was completely giving us an energy that was so positive and happy because, it's fun. It's not meant to be perfect. And thrash metal in the old days was never fucking perfect. It was never fucking perfect. It was always edgy and mistakes were made, but the energy was there. And we played all the songs with the energy that they were written in and really didn't deviate from that energy. Just let the vocalists do their own interpretations of things. So people, and I can just say by the end of that show, when we did they made us do a signing, and I was the first one in line, and there was a wall to my right, your left, I guess, right, and then I couldn't see the crowd walking up, but each person that walked around the corner had this crazed look of like, and it was the longest line they had for any of the bands. You're talking about big fucking bands, dude. You're talking about big, because they're just so happy. And so that's what we do. I guess we give happiness and we remind people of a better day when thrash was new because we try to maintain that spirit. And it's not easy to do,
Well, it was super cool seeing you, Mark, Phil, Phil Demmel, who's like fucking super fucking cool like you. I mean, I know you guys, we'll talk a little bit about that too. I do kind of want to touch a tiny little bit on the VIO, Forbidden.
You're starting to sound like a Cylon warrior again. We'll see if we can work our way through that. It's giving you a little bit of a. Is it happening to me at all?
I don't know what's. I'm getting rain here, and I don't know if that's an issue. Is it doing it now?
It's satellites, bro. It's satellites. We can work our way through it. People don't really care if they're watching. Be patient. It'll come back around.
Yeah,
no, it sounds good now.
So
that's fine.
Yeah, so that was, dude. I mean, I watched most of what you did over there because how many songs did you do? Like 12 or so, I think.
We did 12. I think 12 or 13. But yeah, we ended up going over our set time. This thing's and nobody. And you're not a festival, dude. That's a taboo thing. You don't ever go over your set time. But the guys in Manmade God were next, and they were like, no. They were telling the stage managers and everybody, let them finish because they were all into it. We had, John Campbell played Off the Edge. He played bass on Off the Edge with us, or with not me. I was standing there watching it. That's, but I mean, we were just, it was just such a overwhelmingly positive experience. And we had a show booked before we even went to Europe. We had the one here booked, but we never announced it because we kind of wanted to see how it went over. Like, are we really going to do this at home? Is it really something we should do? And it went over so well, we did. So the one here was, 3 times the show, 10 times more difficult in certain ways because because I didn't want any opening acts other than, 3 different sets. So we did more than Bay Area stuff. We did, American. It wasn't all thrash metal. Some of it was real influencing stuff, like the shit that influenced us in thrash guys. A lot of people were like, "Why didn't you play this band? Why didn't you play that band?" Because maybe they didn't influence me. We did play Sabotage. That was a bit when I brought that one. I originally had said do Holocaust, but then Kontos is, "Oh no, dude, we got to do Sirens because that's like a go-to for guitar players in the Bay Area." I'm like, "You're right. You're totally right." And so Chris was a real good gauge for and Harold. Those two helped me for the most part picking the songs that we played. Then I had to decide who played where, which was hard, very, very hard. and we
Who's
had a
the
couple
singer
other
for
bands play, 3 other bands play.
Sirens?
What's that?
Who's that? Who's that singer that did Sirens?
Oh, that's Norman Skinner. He is now a core member, and he helped us out originally before we went to Europe because we didn't have the singers here. Caden was located in L.A. Mark was fucking busy on tour, you know. So we didn't. So I was like, I'd reached out to Skinner about helping out, and he just was. He's a big time talent here in the Bay Area, and he's got a couple. He's got a solo project. He's got other stuff going on. You should look him up. He's got stuff all on iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff. But just look him up. Look up Skinner. Look up all his bands. Fantastic. If I ever wanted to do a Forbidden tribute band, that would be the guy, because Russ is very retired, which we'll get to that. But and he's willfully and willingly and happily retired. So, but yeah, but I won't do. I won't. I don't plan on tarnishing Forbidden's name with any kind of like bastardizing. That's why this doesn't happen. So,
Craig, this roboticism's insane on my end. Do we want to try to reboot? Do you want to jump out and come back in? Or now it's
sure,
clear.
yeah.
No, now it's not. Let's try it again. I've never had this problem at this hour of the night. I've never had this problem. I think it's because it's raining really hard here. I don't know if that's, can we try you jumping out entirely and then
Sure,
let me
yeah.
let you back in and I'll jump out?
All right, I'll be right back.
So just leave and then come back on the link. Motherfucker. Of all the days to have all kinds of fucking audio issues, it had to be today, didn't it? Oh, of course it did. Yeah, it had to be today, you bastards. Sons of bitches. All right, Craig's going to come back in. Do I sound okay right now to you guys? Nick, Logan, can anyone confirm that I sound okay, or do I sound robotic? I sound good. All right, hang on. We'll try Craig. Maybe it was on his end. Now they're saying that I sound okay. How do I sound to you?
Better.
Okay. We'll just wing it. We'll try to get through it the best we can. I don't know what else to do. I mean, weather's weather and satellites are satellites. So, all right. So you mentioned it in there that you probably wouldn't want to do this as a regular thing because it looked like it was a shit ton of work. So clearly this is not something you would ever think about taking on the road because there's just too many moving parts, I would guess.
Yeah, it would be a way different version of it if it was. And I'm
And super
trying to.
expensive.
I mean, I original music is my thing, dude. I didn't really cover this end of it because I had to really put a lot of thought into it. Like, what's the motivation? It's like being an actor. What's your motivation? What is that? Looking at the which is that? Looking at the skull. That's is that Othello? Or is that Hamlet? Hamlet.
Macbeth. Macbeth.
Oh,
No,
Macbeth. There it is.
One of those dudes.
Macbeth.
One of those dudes.
So anyway, but yeah, what's your motivation? So really, the reason why I think the whole thing works is because we're not the frontline dudes. We're the wave behind, right?
Second wave.
We're
Yep.
like the Forbidden and stuff like that was technically the third generation of thrash. I mean, it was
Behind
second,
Testament,
really.
Exodus.
Behind Testament and Exodus. Well, Exodus is first wave. Behind Testament and Death Angel, it would be Violence and Forbidden and Heathen and stuff like that. So it's because we're involved, we were part of the pioneers in a way, but we're not the front row of it. So we're the ones that looked up to those guys so much more and we lived it. We went to the shows, the early shows. We were all grassroots at that level. So we're at the point where we're not too old to do it, and we still got the fucking the talent to pull it off and the energy. And it's gonna happen where over the years it's not gonna be the same. Like we won't be able to pull it off like we did. So it had to. It's weird that Jarek from Dynamo reached out to me and asked me to do it this time because it just worked out to be really good timing for this. And I have no. I told everybody when we got off stage in Europe, I'm like, that was great, but nothing to get your head swollen about because we just did a bunch of covers, right? So ultimately, like knowing who we are, knowing that it's we're honoring these guys that are really, like Gary Holt says in Murder in the Front Row in the movie. He goes, what did he say? We're all standing on the shoulders of giants, and that's what I feel like we were doing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, is there an audio and video of it coming though? Maybe of the one in San
Yeah, we
Francisco.
recorded everything. We recorded everything, and I'm gonna edit a few select songs. We have a 7 camera shoot, and got great video or audio from it as well. But when it comes out, we're gonna do it early next year, maybe by Easter. I really wanted to put it out before New Year's this year or Christmas, but it's just so much work to do and so much stuff. It's got, we can't sacrifice. It's not going to be overly slick either. I think it's real important to keep it just like everything was.
Right.
I'm going to make it. One thing I'm definitely doing though is we're going to do B-rolls, bloopers, and
Yeah.
a lot of the funny interview stuff, and then do secondary audio to go with it, with a few of the guys talking through like what, because there's like epic moments where it's great, and then someone just slightly falls off the rails. And when it was over 30 people, dude, played that thing, so it was almost impossible to get every song as perfect as the next one. So there's some moments where it was just brilliant, and then the next moment, like, oops, yeah, okay, but that, what do you expect? You got 30 fucking people, how you gonna? But it was pretty beautiful, and if you want perfection, that isn't what this is. That wasn't what thrash was. That's
Yeah.
you leave that to somebody else that wants to be the perfect fucking tribute band. That's not what this is. This is real thrash dudes and metal dudes and death metal dudes, and that are paying homage to these thrash pioneers, and that's essentially all it really is.
And I think, you know, as an old dude like you, I'm a little older than you. I'm pushing 57 soon in March. Um, as an old dude, that's the shit I want to see. That B-roll, that camaraderie, that's what made this kind of super cool to me. And I, I looked at coming out. It just fucking flights were crazy expensive, and it just wasn't going to work for me. But I'll definitely pick up a Blu-ray or the audio or whatever, man. I'm psyched for that. So let's move into your other two projects. One is your main band, but I think the other one we'll mention first is one that you're playing out live more with right now, and that would be the Boneless Ones. You
Right.
put an album out in May. What's going on? What's happening there?
Well, the Boneless Ones was a great skate rock thrash. If you really skate thrash band that was around, and I saw them back in the '80s, and Chris Kontos was with them when I saw them, and
Wow.
they ended up playing Berkeley campus one day, and I went, and I was fucking blown away because I was like, that guitar player's sick. Like it's
No
way too
shit.
good for punk band. Oh, he was great, dude. His name's Luke. And
Is
he's
that
he's
the dude that
phenomenal.
passed away?
He passed away. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he was out for a long time. I mean, they were like a white hot thing that burned probably from 1984 to 1987, and then they broke up.
Mm-hmm.
And they recorded that "Skate for the Devil" album that didn't come out for a little while until after. But that album stands the test of time, and people hold it in a very, very high regard. And even what is it, Thrasher magazine, the song "Skate for the Devil" is like the #1 all-time skate rock song voted by the fans. So there's this legacy there. And I'm a BMX guy, just like Chris Contos is. We're both BMX
Oh,
guys
okay.
from the old days. So this, but he approached me not much long, or maybe a little into 2021, a month or so in, and said, "Hey, it's not jiving with the guitar player. We want to write songs, but he doesn't have the chops of thrash metal that Luke had." He's like, "I know you liked the band, and me and Chris are tight." I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "Well, I mean, I love what I do in Dress the Dead, but it's like it's not like every day is filled with Dress the Dead shit." So I was like, "Yeah, let me check it out. Like let me see." And then I met the guys, loved them. Realized Max's the singer's legacy in the skateboard world. All of his
Okay. Man, you froze up,
We
Craig.
got you back. We lost you for a second there.
Okay.
Got you. I hear you now.
Yeah.
How did you lose me?
You know what, dude? I'm going to check something out here. Stay with me, okay? Just stay with me, man. I'm on my phone, and I've never had this problem before. It fucking figures it happens today. I'm going to move a little closer to the Wi-Fi and see. How am I sounding now?
Uh,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I hear you.
About the same?
Yeah, move closer to the Wi-Fi. That's always a good idea.
All right, give me 1 second here. I'm going to
I'm gonna write in your chat real quick.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm going to have
I'm
to
telling
go
everyone,
in.
hey, everyone.
Yeah, I'm going to have
That
to
sounds
go into
better.
the kitchen. I'm sorry to do that. Let me get my. I honestly, I've
Dude,
never.
can you
ever,
make
ever
me?
had...
Can you please make me a sandwich while you're in there?
Yeah, what do you want? What would you like? I got turkey. That's what I got. Turkey.
Yeah. What do you want? What you like? I got turkey.
That's what you get. That's what you get.
Well,
And
we're talking turkey right now.
All right, let me see here if I can. Just give me 1 second. I'm really sorry for
Now,
this, man. Just
now you're doing an interview
give
with
me
all
one.
the amenities. Condiments.
All right, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna turn a light on so it's a little brighter. You don't get my rainbow and my fates warning stuff in the background, but
Oh, there you go. You're a
oh
prog
well.
guy for sure.
How's that? What's that?
Good. Good. I see you have a gas stove back there, or is that electric?
Electric.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, here we go.
Pennsylvania, it might be gas.
All right, let me get my charging cord real quick so that we don't have an issue with that, and then
This is live, everybody. This is how we do it.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead. Do
Phil
it.
is saying thank you so much.
I'll
for doing
talk to your
this.
people in the chat. Anybody got a question while I'm standing or sitting? Sitting, very much sitting. Let me see here. Let's see what you guys are saying. Oh, we got I had no idea there's that many people on, or at least you guys are asking me questions. Greeting, John Bush is still God tier vocalist. Absolutely. I told him after the show, Dynamo, when I saw John Bush, I told him, I was like, dude, nobody doesn't cheat like you. Like if he's having a bad day, he'll still push it to the very, very limit. He's fucking amazing. We both got a little teary-eyed over that one. Yeah. Bay Area shows. Yes, yes. Sorry, I'm reading, guys. Escape for the Devil. You got familiar with that? Okay, that's good. Now, have you heard? Have you heard the new record? Have you heard Back to the Grind? Mayo or Miracle Whip? I prefer mustard. Yeah. If you guys have a question, go ahead and throw it in there. We'll do that maybe after it's all done. See, he's getting his charger, obviously. I got time today. I got
dude,
time. It's no big deal.
sorry.
All good, brother.
By the
We'll
way,
move it right. We'll move it right along.
Since you got your box set the other day,
fuck, dude, we
which
talk
is
about Celtic
killer.
Frost for fucking ever.
Well, these are the digibooks. Do you see these? The BMG digibooks. They're like they came out
Those
like
came out a while ago. Are they new ones? Or these are new ones.
2017, I think, or
okay.
maybe
Well, I love the box
14.
set, but let me finish telling you about the boneless ones.
Yeah, man, go for it.
We'll stay on, as they said in Star Wars, stay on target. Right on. So, anyway, so I agreed to check it out, but what I did do is when I went home and I thought about it and I listened, because dude, people don't know what other people listen to, but punk and hardcore was a big part of my background of back pocket influence, things that the bands I love to see, whatever. So, but I just immediately came up with two songs, kind of walked it fucking, spinning shit around. I immediately came up with a couple songs and walked into the door with those, and we wrote those in a day. We rehearsed over at Chris Contos's place, and we did it all in the box on headphones. And we all had our own little way of recording, our own little, it was, so we were all in there. And he had an electric drum set, and we would play music and write songs like that. And I kind of forced the issue. Well, let's hurry up and finish these songs. Hurry up and get in the studio and hurry up. And I was like, while we're not doing anything and COVID's still kind of here, let's write this record real fast, keep it fresh. And that's what we did. and we ended up recording it. I don't remember exactly when we recorded it. It's like towards the end of last year, maybe last quarter of last year, and then put it out here in May. And the reviews are way better than who am I? Are you even here anymore? Or did you take off?
Yeah, I'm here. I put you on solo.
Okay.
Would you rather be like that?
It's,
I
this
was
is
letting
great.
you talk to your audience.
No, that's fine. Anyway, so the reviews are really great. Like way more positive than I expected, or any of us for that matter. We knew we liked it because it was fresh and fun. And yeah, these days I like to keep shit fun,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I'm in it for, because I just don't think there's really, I don't have ambitions to be a household name or a rock star or put out, you know, Grammy award winning records, because no one's paying attention like that. They don't have the
True.
attention spans. So it's not, you know, my view of the world has changed, as with all the guys in the band. And we have our slogan within that band is keep the fun fun. That's within our little circle. And once in a while we got to remind ourselves, if we're like, you know, grinding on an issue, back to the grind, that we got to just keep it fun. And so, you know, we're playing a show this weekend. Um,
Right,
Playing in
Saturday. Yeah.
yeah, Saturday night in Albany with Defiance, and it was to
Oh,
be fucking
nice.
great.
What
Yeah,
typically how many people do you pull in? Like 200, 300, 400?
you're in the Bay Area, dude. You don't do that unless you're fucking.
Oh,
That's what Dress the Dead can pull that off on a good night. But yeah, very Bay Area bands for the most part. It's hard to get more than, you know, 150, 200 people. It's
wow.
just the way it is around here. You know, if you're from out of town, they'll fucking come. Or if you're Bay Area international and there's a bunch of guests, they'll fucking
Yeah, it's a
come.
big, yeah, yeah.
Or if you're one of the big bands, they'll come. But for, you know, for the most part, it's really hard to get more than a couple hundred people out to a show. But we do, whenever we play, we sell a lot of fucking merchandise. Our per capita rate is insane.
Nice.
Probably the highest I've ever had in any band I've been in, like for how many people walk in the door.
Really?
And we're growing. You know, we're still growing. People love the record. People love seeing us live. And we just, you know, sorry, I'm not answering that phone.
That's
It's
cool.
just gonna ring. You know, I got people
So
sleeping upstairs. My
so
wife
you're
and
probably
my son are
gonna
up there sleeping.
yeah. I would assume then you're gonna do another record at some point in time, or is it, I mean, did you like today, in today's world of record sales, I mean, you came from an era as an artist where, you know, selling 500,000 was a gold record and selling 1 million was platinum. And nowadays, if you sell, you know, 50,000 or 60,000 albums, you're, if you're not Metallica or fucking, what's her name? The country artist, not the country artist. I want to think
Taylor
Shania,
Swift.
Taylor Swift. Thank you. Yeah. You can see how out of the loop I am on that kind of shit. But, you know, if you're not that kind of an artist, you're not selling ass loads of records anymore. So for you guys selling what, like 8,000 albums would be pretty good.
Oh, I guess. I mean, you have to look and recalibrate your mind on what the music industry is now. You have to not look at it the same as it used to be, you know, and at the same time not be jaded about it, because you what you my personal feelings, this is just my feelings, that everyone has different feelings. Um, my personal feelings are that I'm in it for the music at this point. I'm in it to make great art,
Right.
and I can do that. I have the ability to spread my stylistic influences over different genres of metal and rock. You know, I played metal, I played rock, I played thrash, I even played death metal. I mean, and I have no
That's right.
problem jumping. It's not weird for me, because those are all my real true blue influences. Where some people would get very pigeonholed, you know, and they can't do anything else without worrying about losing part of what, you know, their fan base was over here
Right.
or there. It's like, hey, listen, man, Forbidden ended in 1997, so 98 technically. No, it was 97, whatever. But it was a long time ago, and I was more than willing to follow the bell and see where I could go, branching out and not trying to be, like, jump into any trend, just to what's follow my gut. So, 'cause, you know, I don't know, I don't know. 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 I don't know
Right.
So that's I maintain that. But that I say that, but in 2001 we got signed by Rick Rubin. I was in a band called Manmade God, and we
Yep.
thought we were going to be fucking ginormous, ginormous band. So did Rick, so did the labels, so did everybody. And then things break a certain way. So when that happens, I think that's when that was when I really, by 2004, I had really taken a step back and understood that if you're in it for the wrong reasons, you will always be disappointed. If you're in it for the right reasons and things go well, then you're gonna like, wow, look at that. So everything's a success right now, in
Yeah.
that's
No.
in
Yeah.
by that standard, if you know what I mean.
Well, speaking of that, let's segue into Dress the Dead. Your kind of your main project that you've been working on for what, about four years now, give or take.
What, Dress the Dead?
Yeah, four and a
Yeah.
half.
We got Peter Dolving when we started.
Right.
It really didn't kick off to the very end of 2016. Was it
Oh,
the end of
okay.
2000? Yeah. Well, we did. No, we had Peter, and then he came out, and our first shows were Death Angel. They
Right.
did two Christmas shows, and we played both of those. And that was the beginning. So it was great play with Peter. I mean, he's somebody I really admire and look up to.
You
We're,
still in touch with him?
so a little bit through, yeah, we talk through social media messaging, you
Right.
know. But yeah, he's a complex guy. He was going through a lot when we got him, but he was
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really excited. And then he got real anxiety stricken because people were interested in the band, and he's like, I can't really tour like that. I can't really, we were gonna start doing shit, and he just got very anxiety stricken because he had things in his
I'm
life,
an
and
anxiety baby myself, so I kind of
yeah,
understand what that's like. It can do fucking wicked shit to you, man. I mean, it can really mess you up. People that don't suffer from anxiety, like daily anxiety, they don't really know what it's like. You can't really explain it to them. And then, your options are slim. You can either medicate, which is dangerous.
frozen.
Um, what's that? Am I frozen again?
All right, you back?
Yeah, I'm back. What the
Okay.
fuck is
You're talking
going
about
on?
anxiety. Please continue because
Yeah.
I think that's
No,
an
I'm an
important
anxiety
thing.
dude. Been suffering from it all my life. And you can't really explain it to people that have periodic anxiety. I mean, like getting up in front of some, a speech class at college or in high school or something, that's one thing. But trying to deal with daily anxiety like that, especially if you want to be a performer, that's tough.
Yeah,
That would be
well,
tough.
I think he was one of the best performers. I think Peter's one of the best artists and best performers. And that's what drew me to him in the first place. And we ended up getting a friendship over kind of being like-minded on certain issues, And yeah, so I mean, I was really excited. The guys in the band had heard the Haunted. A couple of them had, and one of them didn't. Um, but they didn't really know Peter at all, And then he came out, and he has a way of making you uh you either love him or you hate him, and everyone loved him because we're very
Right.
open-minded, very positive, we're very emotional, we wear our feelings on our sleeves, and he fit right in. Even his Swedish way, because he's a very Swedish American guy. He's not, because the Swedish are
Right.
uh, uh, notably reserved.
Stoic.
Like,
Stoic. Yeah.
yeah, that's why a guy like Ola is so different, right? Because
Man,
Ola is just like
seriously. He's
he's
a
so
fucking
amazing,
goof.
and he's in the Haunted now. So how's that? But anyway, so
He's awesome.
yeah, it just didn't work out, and at the time it was a big shock to us because he had basically quit on Facebook saying he was going through things. And that was when you wake up and you see that's how it's going down, you're like, oh fuck, because we were just about to fly him out again for a bunch of other stuff. So fast forward into not having a singer, really being writing amazing music, but going, fuck, this next singer's got to be special like Peter, or special in their own way. And we couldn't find that special person. We came very close to having a singer who is special, but not right for us. But we were just like, they're really good. We could probably mold them into it. and it
Right.
just and they're really really good, really really good singer. And but he wasn't. It wasn't edgy enough after Peter. And then that very fucking day, the day that our drummer was going to actually tell us, I can't do this without a singer anymore. It's just, Mark Hernandez played me in Forbidden as well.
Right.
He's like, he was going to come in. That was the day that Kayla Dixon sent me a text and said, "Hey, I'm Kayla
Crazy.
from Witch Mountain. I saw that you guys need a singer." She was waiting for months, dude. She was nervous about asking us, and it
Sure.
just so happened to be the day. I mean, that's just uncanny fucking coincidence. So,
Dude, I got to
a few
tell you
days,
something.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm not a huge, and this is going to sound misogynist, but I swear it's not. I'm just not a huge female fronted metal band fan. Like I don't know what it is. I struggle. I don't like the Beauty and the Beast stuff. They're great singers. Don't get me wrong, but I can't get into them. They just don't bring it for me. But Kayla, holy shit, wow, like wow,
Yeah, she really.
she's insane.
When let me go back. And you know what? I'm with you on that in a way. I really am. And I never anticipated having a female singer in any project I was in. It just never came up in my head. It just was like, I wasn't looking for a female singer. But
Hmm.
that's the kind of band we are. That's the kind of people we are. And what was funny is like we were looking for this special thing, and then it found us. And then, I went into the studio that night and kind of broke it off to the guys and in steps. Like, well,
Right.
I know that the singer found me and reached out to me, and I got to tell you, it's different. First of all, it's a girl. They're like, "Wow, yeah, that's what really?" And they're like, "That's interesting." I'm like, "And she's black," and they're like, "Whoa!" And then everyone's funny because everyone's like, they had goosebumps. They're like, "Really?"
And she's super
I'm like,
young.
"Because it just makes sense." And then I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah," and then she was at the time she's like 22, and they're like, "Oh no, wait a
Wow.
minute," like, but she was, I played them some Witch Mountain stuff, and they're like, "Okay, let's see what she can do with our stuff." She sent us 1969, which was written with Peter, as a song that Peter and I wrote,
Killer song.
and fucking not just killed it, dude, but that song's made for her. And Peter noted this. He noted it after we put it out with her. It's like, the power of those lyrics that he wrote coming from a black woman in America dealing with what she has to deal with were 100 times more potent. No
Sure.
knock on him because he's the genius who wrote those words, you
Right.
know. So this is one of those things, and it's been a very slow burn. We Because COVID came and shut everything down. Because we were going to go do Dynamo that year too,
Right.
in 2020, and that was like everything was lining up for us to finally unleash then, and we finally did that this year. But COVID kind of slowed us down, so we just recorded a ton of material. We just finished mixing 4 songs that we're going to put out as an EP. We're
Oh,
going
you
to
are like
record
a
a new,
physical
yeah,
EP?
yeah,
Physical? Okay.
maybe physical. I
Oh
was
man, it's
thinking, I would like to do vinyl with it, but it's
so
fucking
crazy. The weights, the
the weight
cost.
and the price to make it.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, but we can.
Sad.
That's the thing. We can do whatever we want, and there are labels interested, but I still haven't found that giving your shit to a label at our level is worth it. I want our level to grow before we hand it off to a label, so at least it's like not just throwing it to nothingness. I mean,
So are you licensing the tracks to Blood
yeah,
Blast
well,
now
we're
or
licensed
how's
already. Anything we put out through Blood Blast right now, which is
okay.
Nuclear Blast Digital, and
And
they've been
that's your
great.
digital platform then kind of
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Dude,
We
I gotta
we do the
tell you,
work though. We do the
there
work.
there are some killer fucking songs. Anybody out there that hasn't checked out Dressed to Dead, you gotta go check them out. Kayla is fucking man, I mean, she's soulfully singing in one, you know, verse or something like that. And then she goes into a fucking death metal growl that rivals somebody mentioned Angela Gossow down here. I mean, she was kind of the queen of death metal vocals for me, and I dug her. But yeah, I mean, Kayla's the shit. No joke.
She's actually okay. And I'm just gonna just say it. Uh, I've been lucky enough. to play with two of the greatest singers that have ever fucking walked this planet in metal. And that'd
Yep.
be Russ Anderson and Kayla Dixon. And I played with other great singers in between it. But the
I
amount of
agree.
tools, it's like if I pulled out a fucking a knife that had 1,000 fucking different kinds of blades on it and tools and everything, more than a Swiss Army knife, like the things that both of them could do. Russ could do things that nobody else could do. Of course, he could sing like clean. Of course, he could do opera, but he could also fucking jump into guttural shit
Oh yeah,
and
you
do the
could.
scratchy voice like nobody else. Kayla's similar in that way, but she's got Ella Fitzgerald in her back pocket,
Oh,
as well as like, any of the other stuff that you're thinking. People automatically, when it comes to females, and what you said is it's relevant for taste, but it is a little misogynistic
it
because
is.
ultimately, oh, another girl singer. Well, what about another guy singer? There's almost all guys.
Yeah,
Like why
yeah.
why is it all going to be
Well,
that way?
but
You then you could go life agony. You know,
true,
right?
true.
If you like a little of
Keith.
both, I mean,
Yeah,
how do you like your edge? To me, it's just whatever really fits the music. To me, it's now that I've had her in my musical life, and we've grown a lot together. She came in and she's very very intelligent.
oh
And
yeah,
but at the same time, she was 22, and she only knew so much because in 22 years, her experiences were things that
yeah.
we didn't have. So, there were things that she definitely experienced that we would never experience, which she brought in the music, which made it great. But yeah, she was 22, and now here it is, almost 5 years later, and now she's like way more mature. Our trip to Europe that we did, we went over fucking killer at both festivals we played,
Yeah,
and
I saw the
played a
video. Yeah.
club show at Dynamo. Amazing, and that's where people really got to see us in our element. At the club show in Dynamo, I think we really like cricked some heads over. Like, oh shit, they got levels because we do. We're melodic, we're heavy as fuck, we're progressive in a
Oh,
lot of
definitely,
ways.
definitely.
Musically, it's pretty good luck trying to play that if you don't have the skill set of having your thrash background and every it's like it to me, dude. Everything I always wanted, Jeff. Everything I've always wanted to do in music is be able to do whatever I want to do without somebody telling me you can't do that. Dress the Dead's that band, um, and I'm super proud. And if nothing really comes of it big time, I know we made great art, and then someone's going to dig that shit up later and go, "Holy fuck, I missed out on that." And that's what happens almost every day. So we
Yeah,
go,
sure.
"Dude, I didn't
Yeah,
even know you guys were that heavy or that good or that." It happens all the time, and it's cool, dude. Like I said, my parameters, they're different. So whatever it takes, however long it takes, it's
that's
not
awesome.
looking for massive world success. If that happens, I think it is possible with her. I think that is
Well,
possible with her. But
what I
if
get
it
out of
happens, it
Dress the
happens.
Dead, what I get out of Dress the Dead, I think there's 9 songs on Spotify. I think is that how many? 8, maybe something like that. Anyway, um, there's a different flavor pretty much to every track. Yes, there's a bass that's generally rooted in metal or hard rock, but they're very dense, atmospheric tracks, a lot of them.
Hmm.
And they're very different, in my opinion. They're very different from what you did in Forbidden. They're a culmination of an aggregate of all the things that you've done over the years. But I do like the Man-Made God album. That's a really killer album. It's very, it's got the Soundgarden thing because Pan had a real Cornelish sort of vibe to his voice.
Honestly, it's way more. I want to say Bad Company. You know,
Right. It's
it's
less
it's like a very heavy
out there.
Bad Company.
It's
Yeah.
less out there than Soundgarden was, when they were at their peak. But it was good shit, man. I mean, you're right. You've gotten to kind of go in a whole bunch of different lanes. So right now with Dress is Dead, you got this 4-track EP that you're going to release, maybe physical, maybe not, but definitely digital. Any touring opportunities out there like to open for somebody? Because I know You mentioned
Well,
that
that
you
touring again. This is
is
something
that a
we all
problem?
want to do, but you're in a different world, dude. It like I will tour if there's a demand, we'll supply the demand. But at the same time, if it costs a fucking shit ton of money to go play just a couple shows and you're not gaining much from it. When we went to Europe, it was well worth it because
Yeah,
now we have a fan base. Now we have a fan base in not only the Netherlands but in Belgium because we played two festivals, went over great. We have fans. That's what happens when you do this now. But it's the price of fuel and everything else. People got to understand, like
travel.
it's on top of the way the industry is musically and everything like that. You also have to deal with the realities of touring for long extended periods of time can run you into the ground if you don't do it right. So you have to be smart. But I anticipate things happening with Dress the Dead. But I really think, and we're having we haven't practiced more than a couple times since we got back from Europe because I got so busy doing this other international
Right,
thing.
right.
But we'll have a meeting tomorrow and we're going to talk about the big plan. But I have an idea that I think works for this band that sets us up for the end of next year and the beginning and all of the year after that. So, you know, you
Cool.
just gotta, just follow the bell, as I said earlier, and see where that leads you.
Yeah, I'd love to catch you guys live, man. I mean, that's I truly was blown away by Kayla. Just her voice is just it's so dynamic, man. It can just do it all, and she's mind blowing. So
Yeah,
anybody
I
that's on the
recommend. Can
fence
I just
about that,
recommend people
yeah,
when they if they go to YouTube, look up. It's kind of obscure and it's not that hard to find, but it's not like it's out there for everyone. Not everyone's seen it. But watch some of the video from the Dynamo Club when we played, and you'll really catch the vibe, and because that's a legendary venue, and those people are they will they're they're just if you're good, you're good. If you're not, they're just not even paying attention. And we
that's
had
killer.
captivated that crowd. She had captivated. But I mean, I gotta give it up to the guys in the band, as equal as anything. Everybody in that band is a fantastic player, ridiculously talented. Mark is fucking
Great
unbelievable
job.
and syncopated and fucking his groove, his choice of fucking, drum notes and whatever we do is his spine and I'm not just saying this to give the blow smoke up their ass. These guys are fucking great. My bass player,
Yeah,
Jimmy,
what's
played with
his
me in Manmade God.
yeah, what's
What's
his
that?
name? What's your bass
James
player and the
Walker.
other guitar player? James
James
Walker.
Walker. He
Okay.
played with
The
me in
other
Manmade God. He writes a song within a song with the way a real bass player, like a Paul McCartney or a John Entwistle or something. He's always, we make jokes about lead bass, but he's writing incredible melodies that are unto themselves. So when you listen to, you said dense because you have so many things to listen to, and then Mikey Rowan is the most atmospheric guitar player, and I played with one in Dan Delay, who was great. He was great as well, but Mikey's more punk rock on top of that and those Van Halen stuff and Pantera stuff. So he can shred when he wants to, but he's like our atmospheric sound collage. So there's like I'm the one who kind of colors within the lines in that band, while the other ones are just kind of outside dancing around. And it's a different vibe for me. It's pretty cool. I mean, I get to play all
awesome.
the solos too for the most part, but I
Yeah,
don't
you don't
don't I
have
don't,
to
I
you
don't
don't
do
have
too
to
many in that band.
don't have to share with other crazy lead
Well, I would
guitarists,
share it
right?
with Mikey any day, dude. Mikey's great guitar player. He's
Okay.
phenomenal. But he's had a completely different style. He's not, he hits really, really hard. He mashes the fucking instrument. So the combination, I think we're an incredible band and people catch on one by one. That's fine.
What you're all local except for Kayla, right? Like
Yeah.
you're local to San Francisco? Okay. Does she fly up then for like a week of rehearsals or
Well,
how's that
down
usually work?
technically from
Uh,
Oregon. But
Oh,
yeah,
she right, yeah, down. Duh.
yeah. Yeah, she
That's
does.
killer,
Yeah.
man.
She flies in. Sometimes she'll drive in, but mostly flies in, yeah.
Yeah, that seriously, anybody that's watching this, you need to check this band out. It is, I'm not saying to blow smoke up Craig's ass. It's great, man. It is killer. I guess we can
Thank
kind
you.
of transition into
Sure.
Forbidden. And you know, can you give me a rundown on first of all, before we jump into that, can you give me a rundown on the demos that exist out there? Because I went hunting, and I'm just going to be upfront with you. I don't own any of those. I wish I did, but somebody's coming on the show that might own some to show you
Oh, we have a special
shortly.
guest. We have a special guest coming on.
We have a special guest coming on that when we do the
Oh
album
shit,
thing. And
this is news. This is news to me.
no, it was
Well,
in the email. It was in the email. He saw you when you guys opened for Testament.
oh,
Was that
okay,
your
that would have been 95,
wait?
95.
What was your first show? Who'd you open for? Slayer
In what city?
in San Francisco. Your first show as Forbidden.
No, Metal Church.
Oh, that's right. You were with Metal Church. Okay. He
We
saw you
played
at
with
a
Metal
show.
Church as Forbidden Evil. Testament didn't
Oh,
exist. It was Legacy still.
that's right. It was
You know,
Legacy, right?
they changed when Forbidden Evil started. They were still Legacy, and we played the first show as Legacy slash Testament. But that's a whole different story. But
Well,
the demos, okay.
when
Let's
Dennis
stay.
comes
Let's
in.
stick.
So what's out there?
Okay, okay. So the first demo we did was really just a live rehearsal with a bunch of mics. That's the Endless Slaughter demo, and that's like what Next to Die, Forbidden Evil, and an extremely slow version of Chalice of Blood with our old drummer.
Yeah.
And the song was a completely different animal until we got Paul in the band. So the next group of demos we did was this is the most obscure was the As Good as Dead demo. We had Rob Flynn in the band at that time, and we did Next to Die, Forbidden Evil, As Good as Dead, and what the fuck else? Next to Die, Forbidden Evil, As Good as Dead, and Chalice of Blood. Got a little bit faster, but it still wasn't that fast yet. Then Rob joins Violence. We get Glenn, and then we do the demo, the March into Fire demo demonstration tape that had just March into Fire, Follow Me, and Chalice of Blood on it. Next to Die went away, and it ended up being part of I Profit by Violence. Rob took
Right.
it and made that.
Okay.
That was You're Next to Die. As I forget how those lyrics go. Don't worry about it. I won't
I
even
don't
do that. But
remember off
it was
the top of my
very,
head.
very Exodus influence. You know, and this
But
one
that
Rob
was
was the main
Rob's song.
songwriter. So
But that was Rob's
Next to
song.
Die,
So
yeah, that was
he
all
kind of
Rob.
took it.
Yeah, it was all Rob. That was
What about the
yeah. When I
Egypt is
joined,
fallen thing?
that was
There's
Rob too.
okay.
That was, but it's not a demo.
Is
Whatever
that
anyone's listening to
rehearsal?
from that's from like a backyard party.
Yeah, okay.
I've come
Pretty
across that
rough.
before.
It's pretty
But
rough.
dude, come
It's a
on.
killer
I
song.
mean, dude, Rob was ridiculous. Like he was such a sponge of understanding how other people put songs together. Next to Die would be a perfect example of Rob just taking a blueprint of an Exodus song, putting his own riffs in there, but at least learning this is how the construction of a song is supposed to go, right? So he was smart like that. He taught me a lot, and people got to say what they want about Rob, and some of it he deserves, some of it he doesn't. But the dude is a fucking genius, and the hardest working dude in all of metal. There's no harder working guy.
I'm
That
not
dude,
a
he'll make his band stand on stage for 3 hours a night and fucking doing it
Yeah,
with
I'm
them
not a
too.
massive machine head guy, but I have a lot of respect for Rob. I respect a lot of the positions he comes out on. Sometimes he's a little more vocal than maybe he should be, but or not should be. That's the wrong way to put it. He's very emotional, like I am. So when something hits hard, he's not afraid to step up and say this is wrong or that's the wrong, take or whatever. But I respect him, and I mean I watched a lot of his podcasts over the last 2.5 years. Man, they're so good, so good.
He's gotten good at that.
Yeah.
He's gotten really good at that. The one we did, we could have talked for another. We could have talked for a long time, man. I mean, but him and
Oh,
I
I
go
bet.
back to he's. I met him in high school when I was in high school, different high schools, and people kind of know that story. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of history. We were estranged for many years, and then kind of just reconnected about 7 or 8 years ago, and have gotten pretty tight since then. And
Well,
I respect him as a person, dude, a lot. I mean, I know he's made some, you know. sideways business decisions with it, like how you treat your band members. A lot of times you can lose it if they're your employees. You can lose perspective, and that's where
Yeah.
Rob probably had dropped the ball in the early days, where he's not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think Rob's going to make those mistakes anymore, because he didn't. You pay the price. Let's just put it that way. So
Yeah.
you learn by trial by fire.
It's sad because I don't know Phil, but Phil seems like a fucking super rad dude, and they had to have been very, very good friends at one point in time, and it's kind of a shame that it came down to sort of a business sort of separation, which is a bummer. Maybe they'll come
Well,
back like you and
yeah,
he did.
and I think they will.
Yeah,
They've got a longer way to go, but that's not my place to really talk about that. But I
sure.
can tell you
Yeah.
that one of the byproducts of the International and work, you know, uh, is working with Phil. And after we rehearsed backstage, he texted me and said, "Can we talk for a minute? Meet me somewhere." And I did, and I went over and he had a very heartfelt, kind of an apology for holding a grudge against me for so many years. And I was like,
Can
"Dude,
you
right
talk
on."
a little bit about what what created that? I mean, was it just Rob leaving the band, or was there more to it than that?
Well, there's probably more to it than that, but that was the rivalry was really the crux of it. But as it was very heartfelt, dude. He was as sincere as I've ever. I take him as a pretty sincere guy, but it was the
Oh
most
yeah,
sincere he'd ever spoken to me before, because he was trying to clear the air before we got on stage and did this. He's like, I feel like, he said something essentially to the effect of, "I've had a problem with you for so long that I don't know why I've had a problem with you." And my wife is like, "Craig's really nice. He's really cool. Why do you have a problem?" He's like, "I don't know." And it was funny, because I'm like, and I just
that's
told him,
funny.
I'm all, "Dude, you might have had a thing. I have not had a thing, dude. My thing with Phil was knowing that he had a thing with me." And
Ah, yeah, it's just this vicious cycle
yeah,
of
but it
weirdness.
was no, but I never, dude. I think Phil's great, and I think Rob's great, and I know that Phil is. Yeah, he's been begrudging about some shit over the years, but none of it could stick. You know what I mean? None of it could stick, because it wasn't actually real, and that's what he was trying to say. He's like, "I've really got no problem." So
That's cool.
we've cleared our air, and then we
That's
did this
awesome.
thing in the Bay Area too. We had Sean Killian up with us, and I think Sean just was taking a look around at the way everybody was getting along, and he's like, because Violets for years, they were adversaries for a lot of bands on purpose. They purposefully would rub
They
everyone the wrong way.
they positioned themselves that way in a lot of ways. You think?
Absolutely took pride in being that, and you know what? And someone has to do it. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be,
Yeah,
and then their music fucking. If you wanted to take that position, you have the strength of the music to stand by and go, yeah, we can say fuck you because we're fucking badass. But I've come to learn that that's, for me personally, not the way I want to go about things.
that's awesome,
So
man. That's awesome.
yeah, but I mean, when I was younger, dude, I'm just gonna say it. When I was younger, I was very cocky. I made a lot of mistakes. I said a lot of stupid shit. I had a
Been
lot.
there.
I had a sense of entitlement that I don't have at all anymore. I've earned certain things now, and but I know my place in the universe. It's like, I'm a big football guy, dude. And
Oh yeah, so am I. Yep.
When Jimmy Garoppolo this year was going to be gone for the 49ers, and because he couldn't not stay injured, he always got injured, and
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't find a team before the time came, and he decided, I'm just going to not even look anymore. Can I just come back and be your backup? And they said yes. And he said this quote, which I fucking will live by for the rest of my life: "You got to know who you are in this league." Right? When he said that, I was like, oh, that's it. In my league, like, I know who I am. I'm not big time. I'm fucking I'm part of the flow, like there's I'm just one of the many. And
Well,
I have my little spot in the corner
uh,
of it all.
I think you mentioned on might might have been Rob's podcast. You said that you didn't really fully grow up until after you got out of the forbidden thing.
True.
because there was probably just a lot of, let's face it, you guys were big, but you were small big. And
Hmm.
because the label you were on only had so much ability to promote you and push you, and yeah, I know about the fact that Ruben apparently talked to Debbie Abono, and I know that was not a
No,
happy
not
moment for him.
apparently. That was not alleged. That
Okay.
really
Okay.
happened. Yeah.
But I mean, so you could have been big time. You may have been, but you never really know. You know what I mean? You
No,
just, in
never
this
were. Yeah,
business,
never
you
was.
don't know. Um, that's
Yeah.
super cool to hear you and Phil have kind of put all that behind you and move forward like adults. Because, dude, we're in our 50s, man. We're on the downside of, you know what I mean? The needle's
That's
not
what we
here
both
anymore.
said at the end of it. That's what
Yeah,
we both said at the end of it. Like
yeah.
we're standing there. I'm like, dude,
What's the point?
we're both family guys. We're
Yeah,
both, like we try to make our bands fucking work. We do what we can. We, I mean, and hopefully, coming around to the point, hopefully him and Rob will eventually rectify their situation. But
yeah.
that's
I would
not my
hope so,
place to
man.
say. That's
I
just
would
not
hope
my
so.
place to say.
They both seem like super cool fucking guys. And
They are, but
what's
they're
the point going
Ro-
through life pissed off and angry at someone when you can't even remember what the hell you were angry at them about? But was the rivalry based primarily on the fact that you both had the same manager, you were on the same label? I
No,
mean,
the
no.
rivalry came before the management. We got
Okay.
Debbie, and then they were they had so much rivalry that when we got Debbie, they had to have her too. So they went
Ah,
and got her
okay.
too. So,
Okay.
but I cold called Debbie, and that whole thing, was like people were like, "Oh my God, she's going to manage another band," because she said she was not going to after Possessed, and then I talked her into it. She went and saw us and loved us,
Yeah, yeah.
and then yeah. So but that accelerated the rivalry because they were a step ahead of us already because they had Rob for a while and they were about to get signed. And then when they got Debbie, they did get signed, so they were a little ahead of us. And then when
Okay.
we got signed, then they were doing their thing with Testament and touring with that thing. And then when we got signed, we toured the world. The demand for Forbidden at the time was much higher. And I think he even said he didn't used to listen to the record. He never listened to Forbidden back in those days, and wouldn't
No shit.
he didn't give us credit because he wasn't he wouldn't like it. You know what I mean? He's too prejudiced to like it. Now he's like, holy fuck. And when he's like sitting there watching people try to learn our songs, he's like, the Forbidden stuff is incredibly hard to play.
Oh yeah. I'm a
Um,
guitar player, so I know. Yes.
yeah,
But
it is. It's the hardest shit I've ever played still to this day. You know, um,
let me ask you a question about that. You came into the band, you kind of slowly worked your way into the band, if I remember the story correctly. In other words, you were showing up a lot with Rob, or you were friends with Rob, obviously, but they had a different guitar player, like a Larry dude or something like that. And then they brought in you,
Leroy,
or
Leroy.
Leroy, I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
you came in and you
it
saw Russ, and boom.
yes, yeah. It's not quite. I didn't show up a lot. I showed up when they first got Russ, and they weren't sure of what their name was going to be. They were throwing around Forbidden Evil and whatnot, and he's like, "No, we were Forbidden." I'm like, "But you weren't. You got to." But they were talking about different names and hadn't played yet, and I saw them playing when they first got Russ in the garage where they rehearsed, and those guys all took off, and then I just grabbed the guitar and started playing. And I started playing Balls to the Wall, and me and Russ played it all the way through. And then Russ just looks at me, he's like, "Dude, you should be in the band." I'm like, "I should. You tell Rob, and then we'll see what happens."
See what
So
happened.
that was yeah. So I mean they had Russ for like a couple days. I mean
But
it
you had
wasn't
the
very
open,
long.
you had the open garage, right? That was what
I
sealed
did.
the deal,
So
right?
it was a marriage of convenience. And then yeah, so I mean that's how it all kind of started. And but then we weren't really a band. I mean, even then we were trying to throw around names, dude. And Forbidden Evil kept coming back around as the best one. So
Mm-hmm.
I think Forbidden Evil existed in Jim Pittman's mind, who's the old drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could say they existed before that, but they weren't, it wasn't until we all agreed it was. And then when it was. And then, we started writing songs together, and that was the whole beginning of that working relationship.
So Rob, when you're in there, how long are you in the band officially? before Rob sort of bolts, because he kind of bolted while you were doing the demos, right? The one demo, right? He did it and then sort of dropped
We
the hammer.
I think we got together in like March of '85, and I was only 16. I was
God,
15. I hadn't turned 16 yet. I'd only been playing guitar for not even 2 years by then too.
that's
So
crazy, dude.
I was a quick study, uh,
Yeah,
but I wasn't great. I wasn't very good yet. I didn't really get good until after he left the band. But that's a whole different story. But I was good enough. I could write, and I wrote good riffs and stuff like that. So it was enough, you know. And yeah, I think he was March '85, and I think he left at maybe April of '86,
okay, so
something like that.
about a
No,
year
not
you got.
April. No, I'm sorry, October. I think of October. I think we did that show. We did a show with Legacy, Suicidal Tendencies, and Laws Rocket and Stone Vengeance at this place called the Scottish Rite Simple in Oakland.
Yep.
Big, big place with marble everywhere. It echoed like crazy. But we did that show, and then he was gone a week later. You know, but we'd recorded a demo with him, and then yeah, he was a little bit shady about how he left. That probably caused a lot of dissension on our parts. Like, oh, dude, it's just But we were kids, so
Right.
I don't, what did
How much,
you?
Rob's?
It's
How
hard to
much
break
older than
up.
you? How much is
Couple
older is
years,
Rob? 2 years or so.
couple of years, yeah.
Okay. How
He
old are
was a
you? 50.
senior.
How old are you? 53.
I turned 53 this year.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we're close. I mean, I'm 56, but so he leaves. You get Glenn in. You knew Glenn from school. You knew he was a shredder. He dressed his dress sense was questionable at that time, apparently.
Well, he
So was
came
his
from a
hair.
different.
So was his hair choice,
No,
apparently.
dude, he came from a different. Glenn could. When Rob left, we were like, it was like it wasn't as bad as the situation I was telling you. We were looking for a singer when Kayla left, but it was hard to find because Rob was a prolific songwriter and he could shred. Like people, like for years when he joined Violence, he didn't show off his real guitar skills because that band wasn't all about that. He kind of dumbed it
Right.
down to
Right.
fit into their thing, and it was all about riffs and energy. But I mean, when he was in Forbidden, he was writing just ridiculously cool solos for a guy who was
Oh,
only
for sure.
17 years old, 18 when he left, I think, because I was 16. I think he was 18, and yeah. So looking for a guitar player is tough. We had high standards, and we couldn't really find anybody that we felt like was going to be an equal of songwriter. So we started looking at lead guitar players, and I said, "Oh, I'll just do most of the writing." Um, and that's what was in my head. That's what I wanted. And then Glenn called me one day. I knew him from high school when he was called Ace. I didn't really know him as Glenn
Yeah.
because
Right.
he was very popular kid. He used to break dance. He was the best break dancer at our school, but everyone knew he could play Van Halen. He knows Dawkins songs. Like he
Nice.
was a glam guy,
Right.
and but he could shred. He just cold called me. I remember picking up the phone. He's all, what are you wearing? I was like, who the fuck is this? And then he started laughing. He had a
This is pre-cell. This is pre-cell phone.
he had a laugh.
This is
Yeah,
landline, right? Yeah.
landline. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, definitely a landline.
Us
But
old
anyway,
fucks.
I
We
was like,
know
what are
that
you
shit.
calling me for? He's like, I heard you're looking for a guitar player. I'm like, do you even like thrash, bro? Do you even like what? But anyway, when we did sit down and talk and play, we had a killer chemistry because he was a quick study, and no, he never played fast riffs or anything, but he knew how to complement whatever I was doing, and a lot of cool shit spawned out of like the first couple jams. Wrote a couple, the beginnings of a couple songs at his house. Started Off the Edge, started Feel No Pain. Just like started a new generation of music playing
Hmm.
off each other, and it was a cool fucking. It was cool while it was cool. It was really cool. It went on for a while. My
Is
dog was
that your?
barking at
Is
something.
that Layla? Is that her name, Layla?
Lola,
Lola. Lola. Okay.
Lola.
Lola. Lola. Lola.
Yep.
Tell you what. I think I want to jump into the albums. Are you cool with that? Are you ready to roll, or is there anything you wanted to go over?
I'm
Because
ready.
we're going to talk about
Well, I think
Tim. And
you just covered it. The only thing you didn't really get into is how Paul Bostaff, and because
well,
we
we're going
did
to
have
talk.
Paul before we got
Oh,
Glenn.
that's right. He replaced Jim because Jim couldn't do double bass, right?
Couldn't play on Chelsea Blood, which is we did cover Rob's. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, Jim was very
Well, let me ask
resentful
you
over
this:
that. Let me tell you.
Do you ever see Pittman ever, or do you ever hear from him at all? Or
Last time I saw him was when I did a Rob Flynn and Friends thing about 4 years ago. He and John Tegio came and it was great because we all stood up for a picture. But Jim's very evasive and tries to not really go over that part of his life. I think
right,
it's kind of like Vietnam, dude. He's got some PTSD or it
right,
was very hurtful that we took his cousin, but
yeah.
is just logistics. You know, it had
Well,
to
I
happen.
mean, you know, Paul was, that shit happens with bands. You upgrade, where you need to upgrade, and that just
Yeah.
sometimes happens that you cut your losses. My very first band, Storm, I know, pretty pretty obvious name there. I came in, I was brought in by the drummer and keyboard player, bassist, but we were practicing in the garage of the guitar player and the singer, but they wanted a different singer. So I came in and I'm doing like Ozzy, I'm doing over the mountain and Rush and all this shit. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And all three guys are like, yeah, man, you're definitely in. We're just going to talk to Scott. Everything will be cool. The next day I show up at practice. His parents come out and say, yeah, we don't think we want you to come into the band. We think that you might be a bad influence. I'm like, because I smoked or something like that. Back then, I don't now, but you know how it goes.
Well, it's either that or they told their parents, it's like, we don't want this guy. Can you please tell him something to fucking it's
Right.
like, but whatever it is, the fork in the road is the fork in the road. You got to just deal with it uh and learn from it and go to the next fork, or you go fork yourself. You still there? I got jokes.
Yeah, man, I'm here. I'm here. Just explaining to my 80-year-old father. We live together, and I was just explaining to
Oh,
him
okay.
why I'm in the kitchen. He's like, "What are you doing out here?" Uh, so I'll tell you what. I'm going to invite the two miscreants in. I did tell you about this, and we're going to do the round robin on the albums. Nick
Okay.
is Necrotic Nick from Thralls and Metal. He's got 13,000 subs,
Oh,
and
wow.
then, he just sent me a text. Going to grab a smoke and a piss. Okay, so he's going to be a minute or two, and
Whatever,
then
Nick. It's
Dennis.
you're losing your time.
Yeah, Nick, come on, man. But anyways, Nick, pop in as soon as you're done there. And Dennis, if you're still watching, please pop into the back room, and we'll get moving from there. Yeah, I did. When we get to each album, we'll talk about the new additions or the subtractions as they may be or whatever. Was curious to know, and it's none of my business, but I was curious to know, did did you and Tim talk much in the latter years before his passing? Did you get to see him before he passed away or anything? Or
No, we tried. Oh, I tried. The band tried. Everyone tried to see Tim, and he had ALS, and I have
right,
one of my very best friends is suffering from that, and he was even suffering from it when Tim was going through it.
right,
So,
right.
hey, Dad. But
That's
but
fine.
anyway, so ALS is uh, it can. I mean,
Horrible.
it puts you in darkness. You know what I mean? It puts you in a shell, and it really hit him fast. So
You mean in
yeah,
terms
he
of its
was
progression, it happened quick with him?
quick. He has the fastest form of it. My friend is getting to the point
Oh.
where he can barely use his arms and legs at all
Ugh.
anymore. And Tim had
How long's
lost that
he
stuff. And
how long's he been sick? You talking about Bill, your friend Bill?
yeah, Bill Shields is
How
one of my
long's he
buddies.
had it now?
At least I think we heard about it like 5 years ago,
Okay.
something like that. And yeah, so I've been taking that ride with him, and seeing his family and stuff like that, and going out to St. Louis and spending time with him. He'll always be dear to me. So, but
That's killer, man.
but back to the Tim angle. No, we didn't talk too much. We talked a little bit through email. He was, I mean, for those who know, Tim was very begrudging. Like he he had not forgiven the guys in the band, and ultimately it was my call to call it a day. But he took that as a huge insult, because the way he looked at it, like, he spent years in there. Why are we ending this after all this time that he put in, time and
Yeah.
money that he put in the band, everyone put in, but it was time to pull the plug, so to speak. But he took that as very personal, so he always had kind of a grudge, and
Shame.
it really hurt me, dude. I mean, when he passed away, I was just devastated, because there was no way. We all tried
No
to reach out
closure.
to him.
No
Yeah, we
closure.
all tried to. I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't just mad at me. He was mad at Paul for when he left to go join Slayer, because he felt betrayed by that. He just felt like everybody left him in a lurch. But you can look at me, because I was the leader of the band, like, it's his fucking fault.
You did it.
And
Yeah.
so that was something I had to come to terms with, because I don't really, for the most part, I don't, have enemies. I've made my peace with, 99.9% of the people out there. But he knew me, but back, like I said, I didn't really grow up until after Forbidden ended. He only really knew me till I was 27, and we called it a day. And so he didn't know me, but I mean, he wasn't the most mature guy. I mean, we all were
Was
like,
he older? He was a little
yeah,
older
he's
than you,
older.
or
I was the
no?
youngest guy in the band. I was
Oh,
I was
okay.
always the youngest guy in the band.
Let me ask you this, Craig. And you can tell me it's none of my business, but do you own the Forbidden name? Is it a partnership and the other guys that are still alive name, or how does that
It's
work?
it's it That's between myself and Russ and Matt,
Okay.
because we're the only members that were consistent.
Actively from the
Like,
beginning,
there's a
right?
lot of,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It's funny, because people have their comments, and they like to say what they like to say. You should do this and you should do that. Why don't you get together with this guy? Why don't you get together with
Yeah,
that guy?
right.
You're like,
Right.
listen, man, there's only fucking me and Russ that were from the very beginning of Forbidden Evil, and Matt wasn't very long afterwards. And we're the only ones that, like, went through all of it.
Right.
We're the only ones, and when we rebooted, we were the ones that are still standing there. And we tried to make it work with Paul, but he ended up joining Testament right then. And
Right.
then we tried to make it work with Tim, but Tim was too busy being a pilot.
Right.
So we
Well,
we tried.
struggling rock star or paid pilot, kind of a tough decision
Oh, he was probably
sometimes.
loving life, man. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people, I'll always adore Tim, dude. I mean, regardless of how he felt towards me, my love for him will never wane, because I thought he was hilarious. He had an incredible dark sense of humor and an incredible dark sense of melody. And he was
Jesus
the guy who
Christ.
he made me a better guitar player as soon as he joined the band. That's when the game got upped, because we were actually a team, as opposed to one guy shredding over here, one guy
Right.
shredding over here. It was like we were working things out together. So that's what I always liked. That's the kind of camaraderie and friendship as a guitar player in a duo that I've always wanted. And he was that guy. And it's just a shame that we didn't work it all out beforehand. But
Last
I'm okay
question.
with it now. I'm okay with it now. Yeah, just so you know.
Cool.
It's just,
Cool.
you can't change people's minds when they don't know
True.
what you're thinking.
Last question. You kind of alluded to it. You said Russ is happily retired. Is he doing well? Everything's good with him, man. Life
Yeah,
wise, he's doing
evidently,
well.
yeah. Last I talked to him, which was a few months back, he's sober living, and he's a counselor for drugs and alcohol at the place that he got sober at.
Oh, nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
So that's a really, really good thing for him. Oh, why is it my phone? It says I'm charging, but it says my battery's running low. That doesn't make any sense. Huh. Oh well. But I am
Okay,
charging. That's really
we'll
odd.
jump
No, don't
we'll
worry.
jump
Don't
into
worry.
this.
Don't,
I'm gonna add these
we're
two
fine.
clowns.
Yeah, let's get the
And
clowns in.
there we go. We got the clown show in. What's up, boys?
I
Like,
just see
fuck
Need to
two
you,
class
Russ.
plus
this
sign. Oh,
up,
there you
remember?
go. Wait a
Hey
minute.
guys,
Are you two? Are
down
you
in
two twins? What's going on here?
they kind
I'll
of
have
look a
Raiders gear.
little like it, don't they?
Well, no, I got a more colorful shirt, but it's fucking cold outside, dude. That wind sucks.
Yeah, he's in Ohio. And
Oh yeah.
Dennis, who's below you, Craig, I think he's below you.
Yeah, he is.
He is in, where are you at, Dennis? You're in Western Nevada, right?
Yeah, Dayton, Nevada.
Dayton. But
You know, I
here's
grew
the
up in
big
Las
surprise.
Vegas. You say Nevada? Nevada?
Yeah,
So it was
Nevada.
Nevada when I grew up there.
Nevada.
It
It's
turned into
Nevada.
Nevada later on. It's
Well,
fancy.
here's the big reveal. Dennis grew up in, where'd you grow up, Dennis?
San Jose, California.
Oh, okay.
There we go. All right. Tell Craig what you told me when you saw them for the first time.
So I don't remember exactly where it was. There were so many shows, but I do remember, and I thought it was at Slayer 86, Rain and Blood at the Stone. I think my buddy bought the demo there because we listened to it on the way home. And I just remember Chalice of Blood on there, and it was, I don't know if it was this demo. This came out in 87, which doesn't make sense for it being 86 show, but it was like on the cusp of 86 and 87, I think. Because I think Rain and Blood went in 87. That was only two shows in 86.
I think I can answer this for you.
All right.
It was 87, and it was with Voivod Violence.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. It was Rain and Blood. I know that. I have the shirt right behind me, and it.
Well, maybe we were handing out the demos. I mean,
did you ever open for Slayer?
There's later. We later at the we opened for Slayer at the Mountain View Theater in Mountain View. I was like, "Where's Mountain View Theater?" Oh, it's in Mountain View. So yeah, but that was later. That was probably 89 it was 88. It was before the album came out. So we just recorded the album.
But I found this that I had.
Okay, now that's the Endless Slaughter. You might have seen us hanging out. We did not open for Slayer there, but we were probably hanging out. That's probably exactly what happened. Yeah, I get it. It's all blurred to me, dude. I don't know if you did the kind of drugs I did, but you know.
Probably.
Yeah, I
don't
remember.
Many of them, yeah.
I know I saw you guys in that time frame. I mean, but I was seeing so many bands. You know, back then it was everything jumbled together.
I think our first shows at the Stone didn't happen until the end of 87 once we had Debbie managing us.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was probably the middle of 87. And then here nor there, you got that demo and you got the other demo. You got the two demos that are actually the most notoriously known for the obscure band that we were. You know, those
this
are ones.
One though is, I know it's just like somebody like photocopied a cover, and then it has that demo on it, and it's got Bloodbath demo 87 and Vomit from 86 on it.
Vomit. Wow, Bob Yost. Fuck.
Let me see those again real quick.
You want to see the demos? This one's just a black cassette.
Great shirt, by the way. Your Party with God shirt. That's a great shirt.
Dude. My favorite area band.
Sacrilege.
That album.
So guys, what we're going to do with Craig along here, and this is a first on Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. You guys are alumni of my panels where we discuss albums, but we've never had the guy that wrote the songs on to discuss his own songs. So this could be disastrous. Craig may to me again. I may get my ass kicked long distance from Hayward, but we call it like we see it. We're not going to say anything.
It won't be a disaster as long as when you ask a question and I fucking end it, we move on to the next one.
Okay, cool. But we don't have a lot of questions here other than I'd like you for each album maybe to give us some pertinent stories that, even if they're ones you told in the Zet interview or with Rob, but if you got some cool things to discuss with like Forbidden Evil, you know, for example, Forbidden Evil comes out 9/30/88. Looks like you used a couple different studios, and I am using Wikipedia, so correct me if I'm wrong. Prairie Sun.
Wikipedia is so fucked up when it comes to Forbidden. It is fucking. I always think about it. Should I go in there and tell the truth? I'm like, nah, just let them run with it. Just let them run.
But I do know that John Cunaberti produced this album, correct?
He did with Doug Caldwell.
Okay. Was Doug his engineer? Or was he the producer as well?
No, Doug was the producer. Doug did the demos, like that second one you held up, or the newer one. Doug Caldwell was our demo guy, and he got great drum tones. So it's something that we really wanted to bring along to make sure that the drums were as massive as possible. And luckily we did, because the drums do sound great on Forbidden Evil, and that's due to Doug's work. But everything else, well, not everything else, but the overview of, you know, guitars and getting solo tones and all that cool stuff, that's Kuna Birde. So they were great together. They were fucking awesome. It was,
And Kuna Birdie.
we were so not ready to record a record at that point. We
Oh,
did
weren't
no
you really?
no, but hardly any of us were, you know. They're done. They sit in the annals of time. But I mean, you know, we were all kind of just like, you know, hanging on by the seat of our pants and the talents that we had, you know. But that's what thrash
you were
metal
what,
was.
like you were like 20 years old?
Oh,
when
I
this is
wasn't
going
even
on?
20, dude.
Oh,
I was
weren't even 20?
18. I was 18 when we went in the studio, and I turned 19 in the studio when we recorded that album.
That's fucking crazy.
I remember my birthday. I had Vietnamese food for the first time.
Well,
That's the kind of shit you remember.
Kuna Berti was Joe Satriani's guy, right? And
And
I
Dead
think
Kennedys.
he did Dead Kennedys. All right, cool.
DK, yeah, before that, you know.
What how long did it take to record Forbidden Evil, like start to finish?
5 minutes. It was
come on.
Efficient?
No, it was, well, some things did take very, very quickly. We went in the studio. Paul took longer than we thought he was going to, because he always wanted to try something new. One of the things we learned about Paul in the studio is that he didn't like to do the same thing exactly twice when it came to his drum fills. He would basically see what happened, and so he didn't overly write them. There was a bit of a bombastic quality to it, so a lot of things took longer than they should have in that area. But that's fine. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying this is what. So, but it took more time. So it took away time from the back end of things, and so we probably did drums for, oh, I don't know, at least 5 days, which is too long when you're making a record, like, to do, you know, unless you're making something different, a different style of music. But that took a while, and then I played rhythm guitar, and then Glenn played rhythm guitar, and then Matt tried to record bass, but he couldn't play a lot of the stuff, and they made us play parts of his stuff. At that time, you know, he's famous. He'll tell you about it. Like, they called us in to do certain things, but you know, there's a little bit of that for everybody. Like, you know, I played a part for Glenn. Glenn played a part for me. I played some bass. Glenn plays some bass. Like, we were just, you know, that's how records got made back then. Especially when you didn't have Pro Tools and you're not fixing a bunch of shit. So
plus
whatever song you could play best, we did.
No click tracks back then either.
Yeah, and then the other thing was, you know, we were cutting away vocal time by taking so long. And then the funny story of, some people don't think it's funny, but the guys who lived it do. You know, Paul and Matt and myself and Russ. We laughed because one day we were told to come in a little later for some reason, and we showed up, and Glenn had started tracking an instrumental. And like, we're all, what are you doing? You know, we don't have time for this. So that was kind of a waste of I don't know, 6-7 hours that ended up taking off more vocal time. So by the time we got the vocals, Russ had a day, and that's when we went to the other studio.
Damn.
Because we lost our time in Alpha and Omega, so we had to go to Prairie Sun. And I was supposed to go, but Glenn was driving, and he declined to pick me up that day. So I wasn't even there when the vocals were recorded. So I fucking cringed for the first year that the album was finished. Every time I heard it, going, I wouldn't have done that. Oh, that's not how I would. Oh god. So, but now I'm totally used to it, and it is what it is. It's great, you know. It's like, just killer. It is what it is. It's raw, and it's a band hanging on by the fucking skin of our teeth, you know. And that's the charm of it.
So, what was the total time in the studio, though? Soup to nuts?
Oh, couple weeks.
Wow.
Probably couple weeks, and then they mixed it for a week, or not even a week, like a few days. It's kind of hard for me to remember exactly, but I just know that once you know, the thing I learned is, like, if the less you're prepared, the longer things are going to take on the front end of things. And if you still only have you still only have to the finish line to get to, which is a set date. Things are going to get, jammed up. And so I learned a lot from that.
Okay, so the question I usually ask my panel guests is, where did you come into Forbidden, the band that we're doing? Where did you come in? How did you learn about them? And I'm going to not ask you that, Craig, because I think you know all the answers.
To be a bit redundant at this.
It would be a little redundant, but I am going to ask my panel. I'm going to ask Nick first to tell me, and I am going to put him up in solo here.
Oh no!
Where'd you come into Forbidden, dude?
I was really late to this one, and it's kind of shocking because like thrash metal and death metal were like my big things, like getting me into metal. But I remember going to my buddy's record store, and I'd heard about Forbidden. I just never jammed them before, and I think mostly I knew about them because Paul Bostaff, because I was a huge fan of his drum performance on Divine Intervention. And I saw they actually had a reissue out for their second album, Twisted in a Form, and looking at it, I was like, man, I've heard about this band, and my buddy that ran the record shop was like, dude, you've never jammed that? Holy shit, just fucking get it. And I mean, I did. And I was fucking blown away. I was like, Jesus Christ, man, I feel like I just lost some fucking cred because I feel like I should have known about this band. Absolutely amazing. I went out and found Forbidden Evil not too long after that. And yeah, the Bay Area thrash scene was just absolutely loaded with gems. And I think that same year I got into Heathen too. I was like, what the fuck, man? How am I missing all these bands? And obviously I collect a lot of music. So yeah, no excuses.
Oops.
Nick only has about 9,500 CDs.
No, 9,700 and some number.
So you got them all documented and put into your, obviously you throw it in your computer and have a list of everything.
Yep.
That's what I do I do that for my vinyl. If I did that for my CDs, that'd be a whole other headache.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I do that with vinyl.
A nice separate hard drive.
I have about 4,000 CDs, and I feel tiny and afraid when I get on screen with Nick. I feel very inadequate. Like, size does matter in certain things, obviously. So,
well, the fluorescent lighting makes it look
bigger. Yeah,
that's what it is. The fluorescent lighting makes it look larger.
You see all warts and all. So okay, well, as far as getting in late and getting in early, like with any music, dude, it's like I wasn't alive when the Beatles were fucking killing it. I got in late, but they're my favorite band. It doesn't matter. We discovered things when we did. We were lucky. And what year was that? What year was that you did here? Because you were Divine Intervention guys. So was that like in the early 90s?
Well, the Divine Intervention
mid 90s.
Yeah, it was 94 when that dropped. I think I got it in 95.
Well, that would be essentially considered the darkest days of metal, except for the few things, like Slayer, Sepultura, Pantera. Then otherwise you're getting into death metal or White Zombie. You know what I mean? There was a real disconnect for finding the good shit because the ear had changed, taste had changed. So, but that's why the shit stands the test of time, because what happens is that the way that we recorded Forbidden Evil and the way that all these bands recorded their records, when kids go back and listen to shit, they'd rather hear that than something that sounds perfect, because they know their bullshit detectors know that that's not how they really sound. You know what I mean? Like, so honestly, bands are.
I'm glad I got into them like Forbidden when I did, because like I think at that point, like if I got into them with like, because I was going for like the heaviest, edgiest sounding bands, like I didn't want to hear like a lot of clean vocals. Like, no, scream at me and remind me how much of a pissed off teenager. Like that was what was echoing my sentiments then. Like coming back to it like much later as my taste had changed. Yeah, it was like, dude, this settles in a nice fucking niche that I didn't know I was kind of missing.
How about you,
Dennis? Better late than never.
Yeah.
All right. So for
me, Craig, just to let you know, guys, hang on
with
just
this
1
record.
Guys, hold on 1 sec. There
right.
is a lag here. I'm noticing it's pretty precipitous. So I'm sorry if I talk over someone just to keep things moving, because I do want to get Craig out of here by 5:30 at the latest. Are we good there? 5:30 my time.
What's that, about another hour almost?
Hour or so.
40 minutes, somewhere in that range. 40,
Yeah,
40 50 minutes.
I got that one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if I do interrupt, I'm trying not to talk over anybody, which is hard for me to do. I will admit, all the guys will laugh at that, but I do really want to hear what you guys have to say. But there is a lag. So Dennis, how about you? Where did you come in? I mean, you knew about them in the Bay Area when you were a teenager, when you were like 13, 14 years old, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You went to that show when you were 14, I think you said, right?
Yeah, but I got this album before I had.
Ah,
And this is live at Ruthie's Inn.
look at you.
And I think this was 86. This came
That was
out.
in 80.
So,
That was the exact date is January 30th, 1985. We played with Metal Church. It was our first show at Ruthie's. I had just, that was the first song I wrote was for Forbidden by myself, was March in the Fire. And it was brand new and didn't even have lyrics yet. I hadn't even written the lyrics. We just added it to the set so we had more originals, and they used it. It's the one they used. Like, oh, what the fuck, man? You know, but yeah, so that was recorded. And then Metal Church played the very next day with Exodus, Megadeth, and Metallica when Metallica was just about to drop Master Puppets. So
Is
we're
that is that the debut? Is that the debut Metal Church album, or would it be the Dark?
Yeah, it was the debut. Yeah,
debut. Oh God, those first two songs. Oh my God. Anyway,
that the first side of that record is incredible.
It's killer.
But the crowd didn't really like Metal Church that much. They were standing on the side of the walls and far away from the band. David Wayne came out with bleach blonde perm, and people were just like, "What's that?" You know, because dude, this is the place where Slayer fucking came out with makeup and got toilet paper and paper towels thrown at him. So wipe that shit off. You know, like it's just we break people out here. You know, so they had a rough go.
You ran around. I mean, you knew Bailoff and you knew Toby and all those characters, right?
Yeah, they were cool to me too. I mean, I wasn't as wild as them, but for some reason, I never had a skirmish with any of those dudes that ended negatively. Where other people like, oh man, this one time fucking Bailoff did this one thing. For me, he's like, hey, what's going on? Yeah, what do you need? He totally take care of me. So, and same with Toby. Toby was hella cool. It wasn't that way with everybody. Trust me. If they sensed that you weren't for real, they were gonna fucking destroy.
Especially if you were wearing a Cinderella shirt or maybe a striper shirt or something like that.
Anything like that, dude. Anything like that. So
real quick,
you were relatively young. Yeah, that's a very rare. I have that vinyl too. My friend gave it to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is some rare shit right there, man.
Yeah, I mean, that comp got me into so many bands. I mean, it has Hex on it, Laws Rocket, you guys, Tyrannicide, Heathen. So many Violence is on that too.
Right, Gutter Slut, right?
Yep.
The Boneless Ones played that too. One of the bands I'm in right now. I don't think they're on the record, but they played that with us as well. So it was just a bunch. It was like 5 days at Ruthie's, and everyone played for free. And I don't think anybody got it. Nobody really knew they were going to be recorded for a record. That was just Wes.
Wes
Robinson. Rest in peace.
We, or rather, I should say, I have a fond name for Dennis. His last name, I'm not going to say what it is. I know what it is, but my last name for him is Dennis OG Press. That's his last name, OG, Original Press. Because everything Dennis pulls out is a fucking original demo. Like the story where he walks in. Oh, yeah, I was at the autopsy thing, and I bought that from Chris Ryford. I'm like, oh, all right, dude, fuck you. All right, we get it. You're special. We get it.
That's cool. Someone's got to be that guy. You would have been a masterful tape trader back in the day.
Yeah.
All right.
I tape traded all through the late 80s and early 90s. So
we're going to address this question real quick to Craig before we get to the album. Sir, why can we not find Distortion any fucking where under $60 or $100? Is it going to be repressed on CD? Is it ever going to come out again? Like, it's fucking insane to find, dude.
Well, it's about the rights and the shadiness of some of these record companies. And yeah, eventually I want to put it all out. I want to re-release that. Massacre kind of fucked it up for us with that album. And then, you know, we've had problems with those labels that we signed with in America. They've been a problem. Those two labels.
Really?
Combat we get through Century Media, so that's a little easier to deal with. But even still, you don't even want to know how many years of back royalties they owe us. You
So
don't
wait,
even want to fucking know.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't even understand it. Let me ask you this. So the third album the first two albums come out on Combat. The third album comes out on, I thought it came out on Gun, or is it Massacre 2, or were they the same entity, or what was the deal there?
Yeah, Gun was only a European label, part of BMG, and yeah, that was a different thing. And then we had to get a different deal here in the United States, and that's when we signed the Massacre.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, and the idea is to get all that shit eventually out, you know, to eventually be able to put it all out. But it's harder to put your hands around it than it should be, because the band isn't really together to do the business.
Okay.
So, you know, like Russ is really retired. Like people, you should do this. Like I was saying earlier, like Russ is not going to, you know, put his sobriety at risk to play some shows to, you know,
no problem
work
with that.
for fucking months to, yeah, it'll just never add up in his world. So a lot of this shit I got to handle it on my own, and it's very difficult without the other guys signing off on it. So I don't want to do anything.
Have you looked into trying to get your catalog back, or is the price just too fucking crazy?
There's it's not just one place,
right?
You know, you after 30 years, you're kind of more free to do so, that we could get our hands around the early stuff. But yeah, we're not quite there with that other stuff, and it's because it's all different labels, different, you know. I think there's even worse. Was the label that signed Pavement was the worst with Green. They'll never answer anything. They hide.
Green.
They put up the fucking digital files that were fucked from Green for fucking years. It's like, dude, are you that lazy? You're making people pay for that? We had no control over that shit. So
you know what's interesting about
I'm not
that?
alone in this way, dude. You know, Gene Hoglan, who's one of my best friends, he couldn't, for years and years and years, they couldn't get their arms around Dark Angel shit. Years and I don't even know if he still has. I think he might still be struggling. You know, Exodus was having a problem for years. You know, you got to kind of be very visible to kind of get it back and really control it. Anyway, we shouldn't talk to it. That bores people, dude. Nobody needs to know how the sausage fucking got ruined. You know, let's just continue to talk about the other shit.
Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about this album quickly. We're gonna go through it, and then we'll jump on to Twisted into Form. Sound like a plan?
So you want to skip an album and then come back to Twisted into Form?
No, we're gonna talk about Forbidden Evil right now. We're gonna.
We didn't just talk about that.
I tend to go track by track, though. I didn't talk about the tracks I like, man.
Well, you're gonna take a long time. You might want to do every 3 tracks.
Well, I'm not gonna do every single track. I'm not gonna do every single track. I promise.
Yeah, give me your highlights, Cliff Notes.
Yep. How about Nick? You're always pretty concise.
I love this album. This was the second one I ever got, and again, I really wasn't big on singers that much when it came down to thrash. Like I like Joey Belladonna, but when I heard Russ's voice, just powerful. Like he projected in such a fucking way that, like, yeah, he's doing the operatic croons, but man, dude, it sounds fucking great. I love this album, dude. Through Eyes of Glass, possibly up there with one of my favorite tracks you guys have ever fucking done. I like the evil vibe on Follow Me and the title track, Forbidden Evil. Dude, March into Fire and As Good as Dead are just fucking raging. And I like that you have this really awesome singer, but this doesn't come off as speed metal or heavy metal. Like there's definitely a lot of Halford worship, but again, it's different. And the music is fucking heavy. Chalice of Blood, amazing opener. Yeah, this is the definition of an underrated gem in terms of thrash metal. Like more people need to hear this if they haven't. So I'm going to be concise. I think I've glossed over this quite a bit, but yeah, fucking love this album.
Do you ever do? I
Dig
don't
it.
remember if you do ratings like I do. 9 out of 10 or whatever. Do you want to rate it, or do you want to hold?
Oh, I'm honestly like
10 out of
this.
10?
Why go the 5-star rating? This would be like 4.5 in my mind. Like, this is fucking killer. Like, there's not a bad track on here, honestly. Like, I love every single second.
Craig, what were you using guitar wise and amp wise? Do you remember?
Whatever I can find. No, but guitar wise, I actually I had a fuck if I had it still now. I had a Marshall 2555 Silver Jubilee. And I ran that and an overdrive pedal, the old Boss overdrive. If I was smart, I would have run the old TS, whatever it is, fucking Tube Screamer. 808. Yeah, I came into that one later for Twisted in Form. I used one of those, but yeah, I had that. It wasn't modified, but that was what I used. And just I had a silver. I had silver everything. I had silver cabs, and I used a Kramer guitar, a black Kramer that I use.
Is that the black Kramer you had on Ultimate Revenge?
Yeah, the one I broke a string on that guitar for the first song, and that's why I ended up getting handed the Van Halen guitar.
Yeah, you were playing
which I
Glenn's
fucking
guitar, right?
hated that guitar.
Uh-oh. We lost him.
Oh shit.
Where am I at?
Craig, we lost you. Maybe your phone died. I don't know if you jump on the computer and pop back in, but let me know. I appreciate it. We'll talk about this album a little bit more and see if we can get Craig back in. But this has been killer. Yeah. For Dennis, how about you? Talk about this album a little bit.
All right. OG Press.
Of course.
No, for me though, I think I bought this album possibly when it came out. I don't recall. I do remember the demo and hearing them. Hearing that demo.
I'm back.
And this was like, cool. I want to say like 86, 87 when I was hearing that stuff, but I was already so far past like that Bay Area thrash thing. I was like very heavily into like the new death metal scene and stuff like that. So this album kind of passed me by. I didn't appreciate it enough at the time. Because for me, like I'd already seen all these bands, I seen Exodus and all these bands live, fucking Testament, Legacy, all that shit. So when this came out, it was kind of late in the game as far as like Bay Area thrash goes. So yeah, so I didn't appreciate it, but man, I got it. I think back in like 90, I want to say like 92, 91. I started getting back into thrash because death metal was kind of losing its edge, and I wasn't super into the new black metal scene. And I always had a soft spot in my heart for thrash, and I think a lot of the death metal bands were starting to go more into a thrashy thing, and bands were like changing their style, and grunge was out and that kind of shit, and I wanted to hear thrash, and so I came back to this album, and it's a fucking banger, man. Definitely my favorite Forbidden album. Like you were saying, fucking Chalice of Blood just fucking rips you a new asshole. Over the edge. Yeah, over the edge. I mean, all the songs are good. I mean, I can go on here and say, Through Eyes of Glass. The song structure on that, such a fucking badass, such an underrated song. The riffs on that.
I'll talk about. Let me talk about that song for a second, because I mean, there's a lot of shit going on there with what you guys have said.
Yeah.
And the thing about Forbidden Evil is it's piled with riffs on top of riffs, and we were really influenced by Merciful Fate and stuff like that. Rob and I were, so because Rob Flynn helped write 3 songs on that record.
How about
But Eyes of Glass?
Was Fate's Warning it all an
influenced
influence
by
for you?
I know, I didn't dislike them, but it was just too safe for me. It was good, but it was safe. It was not not enough edge. My progressive stuff was edgier, but that's a different subject. But no, what I will say about Through Eyes of Glass is that was probably, to me, when I look at the era with Glenn, that was the best conglomeration of our 2 influences. Because I wrote like that middle section is essentially his instrumental, which was about half that fast, starting with the dan, dan. He just had this little instrumental that Paul and I had thrown into music. I'd come up with the intro and then worked on the chorus and kind of just did all this stuff. And then we worked in Glenn's middle section at that high speed and all that amazing stuff. And I think it's such a great solo. It's just so fucking amazing. And he took it to another level once we sped it up. Then he started adding all the other shit to it. But that was like, if we would have been able to continue on that kind of route with Glenn, where we took like things that he did and incorporated them in the songs, and that we probably would have stayed on that road with him a bit. But obviously that didn't work out, and having Tim Calvert took us to a different level altogether. But that was an incredible conglomeration of us working together, and Paul and I arranging it, and taking shit that other guys did and making it into a song. Hey guys, you know what? The reason I got disconnected, I think, is because this cord that I'm plugged into kind of sucks. So I'm gonna go run upstairs. You guys continue talking for a second. I'm gonna run upstairs. I'll hear you because I got my headphones on.
Cool.
And grab a better cord that's not broken.
Yeah, we'll wrap up.
Partially broken. I can see.
We'll wrap up Forbidden Evil.
Yeah, I'll be right back. You guys.
Cool. All right. So Dennis, do you have a couple more thoughts on any other songs that really popped for you?
Yeah, probably Forbidden Evil's like the classic thrash song on this record.
Man,
it just, I mean, that can stand up to pretty much any Barry of thrash, Violence, fucking Exodus. March into Fire again, another classic, and then As Good as Dead is kind of a hidden banger on this. I love that song. It has like a Hyrax vibe to it for some reason for me. Just in the way he sings, the way he structures the song and sings on it, sounds like Katon. But I love that song. And then Follow Me, man, super catchy. Just every song on this is banger.
That was the first one I got the Merciful Fate vibe from. I was like, dude, like, yeah. Except I'm not complaining about King Diamond's vocals.
Yeah, right. For me, man, Chalice of Blood, what a signature song. Those spiraling riffs that, welcome to the Church of Lies. I can't do a deep dive without trying to sing, but I'm going to be honest with you. I can't touch Russ at all, so I'm not even going to try. It would be very, very bad. Anyway, Off the Ledge. That's the only song that I have a tough time with that song for some reason. I'm not crazy about the phrasing, but everything else, man, Through Eyes of Glass, epic, super catchy, melodic. Russ Halford goes insane on there. Forbidden Evil, man, those twisting fucking riffs at the intro descending chordal riff that kicks off. It makes me want to eat glass, wash it down with gasoline while smoking a full pack of 20 marbles, man. It's just, it makes me go, yeah, I can live on the edge like that with that song. It's just a ripper, man. March into Fire, super cool shuffle to that. That tempo is really, and then it jumps into that super speedy riff. Another ripper. Feel No Pain, droney, sleepy intro, then bam, cool solos. As Good as Dead, like you said, Dennis, that's a hidden sleeper on the album, man. I fucking love the way Russ sounds on that song. And Follow Me, man, that intro, super killer. Has a little bit of a Crimson Glory vibe to it, to be honest with you, but
purely by coincidence, because we hadn't heard them yet.
Dude, I know. So if I compare you anything that I hear in here, it's just my reference points of what I'm hearing. And I'm a super prog metal nerd, dude. Crimson Glory, Fates, not so much Dream Theater anymore. Early Dream Theater.
I did love that. Was it Transcendence? I did really love that album when it came out.
Oh,
that's the best record.
Burning Bridges,
Mask
man.
of the Red Death.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, man. I was saying I always sing on my deep dives. Like, how about it, Nick? We did Typo a few weeks ago, and I was singing every fucking song.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying that with Russ, man.
You didn't quite have the sexual energy as Pete, but
Well, that was part. Well, that's true. I probably didn't have other things. I probably didn't have anything else that Pete had too.
Does.
You know what I'm saying? All right. So, any songs on there you want to throw something out on?
I I think that I'd like to sum that album by saying, sum up that album by saying that it was a lot of people, three guitar players, a drummer, a bass player, and a singer, basically wrote that record because, three songs Rob helped write, and he wrote the majority of Chalice's music when it was fucking sludgily slow. Like it never got that fast till well after he was out of the band. When he joined Violence, we started really ramping it up. We got Paul in the band because our old drummer couldn't play it, and it got a little faster. But then by the time Rob was out for a few months and we were all, pissed off and energized, it started to turn into what it is. So, but yeah, it's a combination of guys, and and it works, but it wasn't a fully realized band. It was a great potential. What do we have here? We have some great potential and some really chaotic, bombastic fucking playing out of these. I mean, two of us were teenagers.
That's crazy.
And then the three of us, Glenn had just turned 20. Actually, no, I was the only teenager when we recorded it. I take that back. But writing it wise, we were teenagers when we wrote it, except for Russ and Paul were older.
It would be a great story, except there's Death Angel, where all those dudes were fucking. Those guys are younger than you, right?
You know what? You know what's funny? No, they're not. They're not. The only guy younger than me and Death Angel is Andy. I was the youngest of all the guys that got out and did it in that era.
Wow.
It was Andy and myself, but he was small too, so it made him seem very childlike for a long time. And just because he wasn't a big guy, and he looked so cute. And Andy's a great friend. I love Andy. I played with him for a while at Spiral Alarms and stuff. It was a great little run with him.
Well, this album for me, Forbidden Evil, is a 9 out of 10, man. And the only thing I take a little bit off for is Off the Ledge. I struggle with that song for some reason.
Well, first of all, it's called Off the Edge, so
yep.
It's not a ledge.
Okay.
Well, it is a ledge, but once you're off the ledge, you're off the edge.
I'll remove myself from the street. I'll see myself out now.
I love the ending of that with the whole
No, I like that. I like that part. I don't know, that song I struggle with every time. I don't know why. All right,
it's like a fucking. You know what? That song. That's the only one we played, or I had anybody play when we did Inner Thrash in Europe, because it's the easiest song to play. Right? It's still hard to play. They're like, this is fucking. The guys, you talk about the bass player of Manmade God. He's like, this is fucking really hard. It's like it's just. It's a difficult song, but it's like a nursery rhyme. That was written, I believe, while Russ was up for at least 3 days on meth, and he wrote his lyrics for that. And we had the music, but it was like that whole nursery rhyme lyric thing. We were cracking up. It made us laugh. There is a sense of humor to a lot of the shit that Forbidden wrote on that album, whether you realize it or if it's okay or if you can laugh at yourself or not. We could always kind of laugh at ourselves where other bands couldn't. Then that's always kind of been the way it was with us. We were like, we don't take ourselves that seriously.
That's a good thing, though. That's generally a good thing.
Yeah,
that's why Rush lasted as long as they did as a trio. Humor was always central. So we're moving on to Twisted.
Now, there's a prog band I like.
You like Rush? We talked about this. You never got to see him live, though, right, Craig? You never got to see him, right?
No. Never did.
Insane, dude.
Fucking crushes me.
I only saw him 56 times.
Nice flex.
Jesus. Yeah.
I bought one of
moving on.
I bought one of Neil Peart's BMWs. Moving on. Twisted into Form. March 30th, 1990 it comes out. Was recorded at Fantasy Studios. Comes out on Comeback. Michael Rosen is the producer. Tim Calvert. Where did he come from? What band? Where did you source him from?
Wasn't really in anything you would have heard of. He was an undiscovered talent. Only people in Hayward knew who he was. This is where I live now still. And he lived a few city blocks away from where I live still. And he was a dude that was once we had problems with Glenn, we were kind of grooming Tim behind the scenes before he went to Europe under the pretense that he might get the job if Glenn's difficult when we get to Europe, and it ended up being the case. And then we ended up calling him on a dial, not a push button dial, I'm sure, but a phone, and telling him, you better learn the rest of these songs. We're gonna play a show a week after we get home. He's like, oh fuck. So
whoa.
Then and that started our relationship. So Tim was like a guy that everybody knew as the best guitar player they knew. And everyone was like, when Tim gets in a band, look out. So, but he was not a thrash guy. Unlike Glenn, who was more of a glam guy, Tim was more classic metal, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, AC/DC, Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen.
That's
he
a
was
good fit.
So what he brought to the table was structure that it blended well with my structure and my thrash background. So that was like, to me, the best of all marriages at that time, to have a guy like him. So I could go, hey, dude, what if we do this? I'm like, could you harmonize that? And then he would actually be thinking in terms of interlocking two parts as opposed to doing exactly what I do or doing his own thing completely. Like we were interweaving and making a lot more syncopation in guitar and cool harmonizing stuff, and kind of took that to another level that none of the Bay Area bands had taken it to that level yet.
I think Twisted has a darker sound to the melodies too, because I don't know what Tim liked. I'm a guitar player, but I don't really know the mode shit very well. But it sounds like he might be playing in Phrygian. I think it's Phrygian they call it or whatever. But it's got that really Middle Eastern sound at times.
Phrygian. I think you're thinking Phrygian.
Phrygian. Yeah.
Which I'm not a theory guy. We used to say, what is a mode? Oh, is a mode all a load all a mode? That's what we had
pretty
jokes
much
all the time. It's like, hey, do you know the minoxidilian? You ever?
Yeah, minoxidilian.
You play it so much you lose your hair fucking trying to do it. Yeah, just I don't know about all that shit. And that was the cool thing. I gotta say, just to add on to that point, the thing that was great about Tim is that he was a guitar player. When I said we're gonna do this, he didn't tell me you can't do that or you shouldn't do that. He just go, oh, okay, let's try that. And so that made it really cool, because if a lot of school musicians have told me over the years, you're not supposed to do these two things together, and that's the entire the span of my career. I've been doing things that shouldn't be done, and they can be done. There's no reason. And then nowadays, a lot of that stuff would sound a lot more commonplace, because the influence that we kind of dropped into other bigger bands here and there kind of comes through, and there's things that you wouldn't necessarily think belong together that can. There's no fucking rules. Rule number one: no fucking rules.
No rules. Nick, you're showing the CD there. What do you have to say about that album?
Oh, dude, this one's my favorite. It was my first one. It had a huge impact on me. But going back, listening to all these again, and there's just something about the songwriting here. I think it's tighter, it's more melodic. They found a way to be maybe slightly more accessible, but at the same time retaining the edge, fucking step by step. Absolutely fucking catchy as hell song, but it's still super fucking heavy. Rest in Peace, One Foot in Hell. I fucking love that closing track. God, the title track is absolutely amazing. That opening with the machine gun guitars, but there's kind of a delay thing in there too. I don't know. It just sounds sinister. And Russ fucking owns on this. Dear God, the vocal calisthenics, especially the title track, there's a flutter in his voice that's just absolutely fucking wild. This album's amazing, and I was gonna show this is a slip cover if I can get the fucker to come off, but yeah.
It looks like it's printed on the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at that shit. That's badass.
So you gotta see
that an original?
No. This is the 2011 reissue on Century Media. This was the one that my buddy at the record store talked me into buying. I was like, well, okay, it already looks cool.
And that's a 5 out of 5.
Oh, this one, I mean, all right, between the first two, this one's a slight edge. It's 1A and 1B.
Yeah, look at that.
Fucking awesome.
Craig's showing off his goodies that Century Media sent him. The one of 200.
Yeah,
What color
that's
is
what
it?
these are.
What's
This is one of the
what color?
picture discs.
Oh, that's the picture disc.
This is a
Okay.
This is a picture disc. Yeah.
You didn't even open it, did you?
No, not this.
You're gonna hawk it on. You're gonna hawk it on eBay. Come on, man.
When
Dude.
when the value increases enough to make it worthwhile, I might just do that.
Hey, there's
but-
crazy people out there that buy that shit. It's just nuts. Like, I mean,
They are
if
crazy.
you see the prices on the Distortion CDs, man. The cheapest one I saw is like $55 over in Europe, and then it's another $30 to ship it or something insane. It's like,
Yeah,
I want it,
that's fucking.
but I don't want it that bad.
Nah.
Yeah, me either.
Okay, Dennis, what you got on this?
I
album,
lived it.
dude?
I'm okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably got it all.
Yeah. I
There's
guess.
the CD.
Nice.
Funny thing about this, I just opened it up and I saw that it's actually signed.
Whoa!
So
Can
I
you-
totally forgot. But this isn't
make
my
out
copy.
whose
I bought-
signature
Hold
it
on,
is?
hold on,
this
hold on,
used.
hold on. Oh yeah, you know what? That's actually our signatures. Holy shit! Someone actually did sign that. I've seen those where somebody's like, "Here, I got this sign." I'm like, "That's not ours. That's definitely us."
But that was you. No
Authenticated
shit.
live.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's us.
You-
You can't.
you
That
just-
chicken scratch is very easily recognizable.
You
Hey, I'm
just
gonna
got
listen to
your-
you guys. If you hear the sound of water, it's because I've got to piss. But I'm
That's
literally
cool.
like right next door in the bathroom. So just
Go for it, dude.
absolutely
Go for it.
continue. I'm listening
All
to
All
you.
right. So on this one, it's a pretty much what Nick said. It's a lot more technical. The production is a lot. It sounds a lot better. Everything seems a lot more arranged, more thought out. Definitely, this is like a second album by a band that has a lot of talent. And it reminds me of a lot of the Bay Area thrash bands that came out with second albums like Violence and Testament. Even Exodus coming out with more albums that are more technical, more you could say even accessible. But for me, I totally forgot about this band, and then I saw the video for Step by Step one day, and I was like, "Oh, that's fucking sick, dude! I got to fucking check this out." And then yeah, man, it's super catchy. Russ's vocals on this, it's fucking amazing, man. R.I.P. is just an epic fucking jam. One Foot in Hell reminds me almost of like a continuation to Follow Me.
Yeah.
Out of Body, fuck, dude, Infinite. Every song on here is a fucking classic. Yeah, so great record. Love the song structures on this, and it's just a fucking masterpiece as far as like a second album for a Bay Area band for sure.
Craig, how long did this album take in comparison to the first?
First, I got to let you know that I washed my hands when I was done.
Thank you very much. By the way, I did mute you because it was pretty obvious. I muted
It's
you.
all over.
That's cool.
Hey, that's good.
Say, hey,
That's good. That's good YouTubing right there, bro. You missed
Dude,
a moment in history. So
just say, fucking
anyway.
hey, man. Craig came on my podcast and took a piss. It's so cool. So go ahead. How long did it take?
Took a piss.
For
I don't exactly remember, but it was similar to the kind of ran into somewhat the same issue where the drums took longer than we thought. But for the most part, we played all our own parts this time. Nobody, I don't think anyone had to come in and play anyone else's part. Maybe once or twice for bass, maybe. But the thing is that we as a band wrote that album very quickly. A couple of those songs I started writing with Tim behind the scenes before we even got Glenn. I was like, fuck, we better get Tim in the band, because I started writing Step by Step and One Foot in Hell. Like showing him those parts and kind of working out.
Mm-hmm.
Then I worked out with Paul, and then Glenn's, oh, those are killer. And then we started we actually played that when we went to Europe with Glenn. We actually played them a couple nights.
Did you
they
really?
weren't quite done, but yeah. So there was like a lot of oof, I felt bad, but I didn't feel bad because it was just where it was headed. You had to deal with it.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think that with the level that Tim and I took, like I said earlier, all that work we did, we worked so much together, refining every part and making it into, something so sharp and special and unique unto itself. and we took a partnership as guitar players very seriously. So that was the beginning of that. So that's what you hear when you hear that more darkness, more refined songwriting, catchier parts. Everything's like intertwined, very like there's nothing that's guesswork. Like, you know, I mean, it might sound a little raw and sloppy, but that's just the era and how fast we recorded it. But it was really, really worked out on guitar, bass. I mean, guitar and drums for the most part. Paul was really integral in arranging on that album. That was the first time we actually wrote as you know, just the five of us, right? So, you know, most of the riffs were mine or Tim's, or we could intertwine riffs together. We'd write a lot sitting down together. Like we would come up things off the top of our heads. He never played thrash, but
Wow.
but the
crazy.
fast part. What's funny, a song "Out of Body" is a great example of like it was the last song we wrote, and we were looking to finish something, and I had written the middle section, but we didn't have anything that was really good on the outsides of it. So him and Paul one night just bashed out the intro and the verse rhythm, which is fucking insane. And that was really, I feel like, the first really thrashy thing that Tim wrote on guitar by himself. And it's funny because I wrote the whole midsection, all the mid-pace shit, and he wrote the intro and the chorus.
Faster shit.
Yeah, with Paul helping. They arranged it together and put it together, you know, and then it's one of my favorite songs on the record because I used to love it playing it live. It just always was fucking great to play live, you know. But yeah, there's just a ton of good memories on that record. Working with Michael Rosen was cool. He's a great guy. He's the producer on that one. He had done Souls of Black with Alex Perialis, but he'd never done a thrash record. Well, and he did the one Flotsam and Jetsam record with a really fucked up snare sound. But that wasn't his fault. That was what Kelly wanted, from what they were saying.
The third one
was what Kelly wanted. Like, yeah.
Was it the third album? I think
it was. Yeah, there was a lot of excitement, but you know, we found out later on, and we kind of just went over this for a second, but we did that album with an unknown producer, Michael Rosen, whereas we could have done that album with Rick Rubin, and it would have been completely different because Rick would have wanted it completely. He wanted Forbidden Evil, and we weren't even aware of it until well into the Forbidden or Twisted into Form tour. Debbie said it to us one night when she was mad. You know, well, you could have done that with Rick Rubin, but you weren't ready. They're like, what? You want to explain that more? And then, you know, that turned into one of the points of contention that led to us, you know, firing her as a manager, which people thought was really fucked up. And she's, you know, I was friends with her till the very end. You know, she's fucking amazing. She's like my other mom. But we were very resentful when we found out that we could have done an album with Rick Rubin, but it wouldn't have been Twisted into Form. It would have been Forbidden Evil Part 2, because that's what Rick
wanted to hear.
You know? I'm sure Forbidden Evil would. I mean, Twisted into Form probably Rick would have been you know, really metal. Like, I think he liked the bombastic craziness of Forbidden Evil.
Well, real quick on my end, man. I mean, every song's killer. I mean, it just is. Twisted into Form, man. That staccato riff that you got going on with the delay in it. Where you're playing off the delay. Oh man, that is tricky shit.
Yeah, I think I hit it, and I just hit it once. I wrote that riff. It's funny, dude. I wrote that riff just because I had a delay set up, and I just started doing it. And then Paul started playing to it. That's literally how it all came together.
It's like a shuffle almost in a weird way. Yeah. Is that? Do you remember what?
Yeah, just me and Paul on that one.
Were you using a rack mount
shitty little fucking
delay, or were you using a pedal?
I used the Boss, the white Boss one with the blue.
The white Boss one,
or blue
or whatever. Yeah, no shit. That's cool, man. It
sounds like it. It doesn't sound very clean. It's very
analog,
distorted, and that's fine. You know, it fits.
Sure. The other ones, real quick, man. Rip. Ah, man. That song is so fucking epic, man. The harmonies that the high harmonies that Russ was singing over top of the more, the standard vocal part where he's got those high harmonies that are mixed in there. So fucking incredible, man. And it's just like it starts out with this dreamy, drony, doomy sort of chordal thing. I know because you wrote it, but just talking to the people that are listening. But man, it's so fucking cool. And then it just starts spitting the thrash riffs, and you're just like getting pummeled by it. So fucking good. Infinite, man. What a crushing opening track. I mean, it's not the opening track, Parting the Ways is, which is very cool and very prog metal-y, Craig, I might say. That intro is slightly prog metal-ish, a little pretentious. No, it's killer.
Little Queensryche maybe.
Very Queensryche, actually. That's what I wrote. Fates Warning and Queensryche.
Tim, I should have mentioned that as one of Tim's biggest influences, if not his biggest. Tim was a huge Queensryche guy.
Ah, well, I think all of us here are probably Queensryche fans. I'm
working on it.
The early
Warning
stuff
is still Warning is still my favorite. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Well, that and the EP, man, just fucking. And you know what? You know what's a sleeper album by them, big time?
Stay on target.
Rage for Order, man.
Yeah,
Rage for Order, man, has so many good
Rage
songs.
for, yeah, I can't get over the Bride of Frankenstein look, but
yeah,
stay on target.
I saw them on okay, step by step.
You're flying through the Death Star, and you got. There's only one shot. Stay on target.
I'm back. Crazy spiraling, ascending riffs, chorus is crazy fucking good. It's such an earworm, that step by step, so good. Anyways, this is a 9.75 for me. It's my favorite too, but only by a hair, because I got some stuff to say about this third album, man. So we want to jump onto that one. What can you tell us that maybe you've never shared about Distortion and how that went down? Because what we have here is we have Paul Bostaff leaving. Did he leave before you went out to tour for Twisted or after?
Oh no, we toured. We did extensive tours with
That's
Death
what
Angel in Europe. We did Europe. There's so much that goes behind this, and the very short version of it is, we were selling a lot of fucking records. We were definitely on our way up into being one of the top 10 metal bands in America at that time. And we were right there with Death Angel and a lot of weeks out selling them when they had the Act 3 stuff going on. And it was an amazing run because we were both just killing it. Act 3 was a great record. Twisted to Form was a great record. We were such tight friends. And then when we finished their cycle, the label, first thing they says is, well, start writing another record. And then we're like, well, first of all, we want Max Norman to produce the next record. They're like, oh, well, that'll cost money. So we were battling with the label right then.
Right.
And then Debbie had just broken the news to us about Rick Rubin and all that stuff too. So there was a lot of things at the end of that run. And then Death Angel got the Clash of the Titans tour, and they were going to do that, and they were going to make the jump up, and then we were going to be right behind them, and then they got in the accident. We had just finished our tour with them, and then they went off on their own run, and then we got in an RV and got in that accident.
Yeah.
So that changed the trajectory of many bands, dude. Because once Alice in Chains became that band, that's when the ears all started shifting. People were throwing shit at them at the show, but going, fuck you. Fuck, they sound cool. You know? Wow, this is really fucking good, man. Fuck you, you're not thrash. That's just, things were changing. So that's the main culprit into, there's a 4-year span from one to the other. We had fought to get off the record label. They let us off. We still had Paul Bostaff for over a year after that. And we were about to sign to RCA Records and do a very big record deal with RCA. Like, really fucking a lot of money for that time. And we had did some demos, done some demos. A demo that had songs My Sorrow's My Own, Trapped, and what was the other one? So Dark on the Side. And it was more proggy, more radio refined, more melodic. Really wasn't thrashy. And people, they point to that. So I love that stuff. The same people that say they like Forbidden Evil. I'm like, why? You're like, that's cool, you do, but I'm just saying they were totally different worlds. And we had really a lot of Tim's influence had bled into it at that point, and we were kind of just rudderless. We were writing great music, but didn't really have a direction because music had changed. So Paul
45
joined Slayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we yeah.
Hang
Yeah.
on one sec, guys. You guys talk. Keep talking.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Ooh.
Paul joined Slayer because Forbidden was, well, I mean, he joined Slayer because they offered. That's why. Like, what you gotta do this new record deal and see what happens on RCA, or you gotta just join the thing that's a sure shot, right? So he always loved Slayer from the first time I played it for him because I was the first guy to ever play Slayer. And yeah, so when that happened, he the label was RCA was very gun shy over what to do with us, and they like, all right, well, we'll come check you out with your new drummer, and we got Steve Jacobs, who was fucking phenomenal, but he wasn't Paul, but in ways he was better, but he wasn't Paul, and Paul was in Slayer. So once you had that your old drummers in Slayer now thing going on, it really put a shadow over shit. So then and I say this every time, people are like, really? Then Nirvana put out Nevermind, and that song Smells Like Teen. They probably put it out before that, but this song broke like in between when Paul quit and we were negotiating our record deal. And then the label says, we're going to change direction. We're changing everything about what we're doing. And RCA to this day, I don't think ever really signed a metal band like us anyway, but they were about to. And yeah, so the music changed. So that's why that's why Distortion, excuse me, is so different, because it had the span of years. And then once Paul left and all that had changed, I was like, dude, we're gonna go back to writing a thrash record again, because this is, thrash the way we heard it, which our ears had changed too, because there's so much happening. You not only had fucking, all that melodic stuff and all the grunge stuff happening, but you had Pantera happening and Sepultura happening, and there was a lot of different things that no doubt we were, we loved what was good. So that stuff started just kind of slowly seeping its way into our subconscious, and that's the end of the day. What you get is a very aggressive, very, very detailed talk about guitar orchestration. That's got some of the best guitar orchestration I've ever done in my life. Tim and I were really, really working closely on that record for years, 2 years of writing it, really. So there you go.
So you were released by Combat then? You didn't, because you had like an option on a third album, or they did, or how'd that work out? They just released you?
They did, and we fought for it. We really we dragged ass and said, we'll take forever. We're not going to write a record for you. We were being difficult, and they were just like, all right, cut you loose.
Right.
Luckily they did. I wouldn't say it was a favor, and I don't even know if it was the right idea. I mean, at the end of the day, if we wanted to keep going, we probably should have just did what they said, just jump back in the studio and fucking did part 3. And They wanted us to just do it real quick.
How many albums did Twisted sell? Did you ever have a real sense of what it sold?
All we knew is that it was somewhere between 150 and 200,000 by the time we were done with the touring cycle.
Nice.
And we never saw any of that. It was like
you never saw any money.
It was like, Combat was more than any other label was infamous for selling records to fucking off the back of the truck to places, for a discount.
Oh shit.
So there was sound scans that didn't really exist the way they do now.
Now, when you mentioned the trap demos, were those the ones that came out that you and Tim wrote, like with I heard you say So Dark on the Other Side, and My Sorrow Is, what is it? Yeah, I can't read my
sorrow is
own.
my own.
My sorrow is my own. Yeah, I can't read my
sorrow
writing.
is my own. Yeah.
Or
as we used to call it, my sorrow is my tone. We used to call it.
Dude, I don't know, man. Am I gonna piss you off by telling you I like all these 3 tracks quite a bit? I think they're fucking.
No, they're great tracks. No,
Yeah.
You don't misunderstand me.
Okay.
I mean, but hindsight. You don't have hindsight, and then you do have hindsight. When you're in the middle of the fucking forest, you can't always see all the trees, right?
Dude, Russ's
So, or you
vocals
can't see
on
the
My
forest or the
Sorrow.
trees or whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, Russ's vocals on My Sorrow. Holy shit, they're fucking
Yeah, no, it's right. I would imagine
stunning.
after knowing you a little bit that it's more up your alley because it's incredibly progressive, and it's pulled back, and there's not a whole lot of energy, but it's dark and it's cool, and
Dark.
our songwriting was really getting fucking good. We turned into way better songwriters during that whole process that eventually got us to what we did on Distortion.
So Distortion comes out November 30th, 1994. Again, it's Gun Records in Europe and Massacre in the States then. That's how it worked?
It came out today, guys.
Yeah, today.
shit.
No shit. Wait a minute.
28
So
years
that's-
ago today.
Damn, dude.
I was
We
going to
should
tell you
spin it.
that, but later.
Well, I was too nervous putting this together to realize that was the date. I'm a goober. Produced by Pat Coughlin and you guys, I assume you probably helped out quite a
Yeah.
bit. Studio. I always
Mostly me on that end because I'd be the only guy that would be there from the beginning of the day to the end of the day every day. I was always going to be there, and always going to be hands-on on that area. But Pat Coughlin was a fantastic engineer. I'm sure he still is, but he was not really so much of a producer. So a lot of the production ideas came from within our own heads.
Oh, nice.
But he did have some great ideas, man. He's great. He was amazing.
This is a guitar orgasm album, man. It's just so much going on. It's super dense, but yet there's a lot of separation of the guitar parts that are going on. And man, the opening track, Distortion, holy fucking shit, man. Whew. That song just is absolutely crushing. Those spiraling, crawling guitar. And that's something I noticed you guys have I keep using those two words while I was writing my review in my head. I'm like, everything spirals and intertwines, and there's this crawling nature to the slower parts, not the thrashy parts, but the slower, more atmospheric parts. It's just this spider crawling sort of feeling, like you're just like menacing,
No, that was definitely a conglomeration of Tim and I working together and figuring out that you figure out a language. Your language eventually becomes what it is, and that was Forbidden Sound, and that's what other people started to grab, over the years. And I hear it from time to time in other bands, and it didn't really exist before that like that. But that was just our thing, and then
the
we did
interesting
some
thing
really
about
cool
this album,
detailed
Craig?
spider walks.
But the interesting thing about this album is a lot of albums tend to be front loaded or back loaded. They put the first 4 tracks are like the best tracks, and you get a couple fillers in the middle, or maybe not so less, and then you get that one crushing track at the end. As I got deeper into this album the last week that I've been listening to it, man, it gets better in the middle, man. Like shit, like No Reason is just a fucking banger of a tune. Is it Feed the Hand? Again, my bad writing.
Feed the hand that bites you. Yeah.
Man, Mind's Eye is just such a fucking killer song. Undertaker, so good. I really like the middle section of this album more than I do. And don't get me wrong, I love Distortion, the song. Hypnotized by the Rhythm's cool. Rape is very cool. I mean, well, no, wait, hold on. I didn't want to do that.
Phrasing.
We talked about this.
Rape is very cool. You're canceled.
Rape,
dude, high five! I love Rape.
Yeah, Rape the song is very cool. I don't know how that would go down, and that went down in '94. I don't know how it would go down now in 2002. But
it didn't really go down in '94. People misunderstood. We were writing something. I got to explain Rape, and let me explain Rape.
Am I going to get canceled?
The song wasn't. Yeah, no, the song was written very not obviously tongue in cheek would be one way to describe it. Even that we talk about rape, that's probably not a good way either.
Yeah,
but it's not. It was actually written about. It was written about somebody that knowingly had AIDS that was going around infecting their sexual partners.
Ooh, I remember that.
Was never written about physical rape. It was always written about just stealing somebody's fucking life, knowing that you're just being irresponsible or you're doing it on purpose. And you're not taking care of your shit, And that was what it was really about that. And it was written in a very sinister, first person point of view.
I'm curious.
So
is this somebody that was in the news, or was this somebody in the music business?
it wasn't. It was what was going on in general, because you knew that AIDS was a thing for a lot of years, and not everybody that was promiscuous was fucking conscious, nor did they care about what the end results would be. So I kind of took on, because that was when I wrote most all of the words on Distortion. I started taking over on that, most of the lyrics on Twisted into Form, and I really pretty much wrote the words for Distortion. I'd always work with Russ, but that was more on melodies, and he'd have an occasional line. But subject matter, songs, like, what they were about and stuff like that, was mostly what I would do. So Rake was really risky. It's funny because years later, Matt's like, I'm not going to play that song. I'm like, oh, dude, come on, don't be one of those. Like, it's a fucking great song. I don't feel comfortable. Like, okay, Matt. But we still laugh about that. But yeah, so it was never meant to be like that kind of, physical fucking rape. It was more like just raping you of your future, potentially.
Yeah.
By infecting you without any regard.
Yeah, I like
very
that
fucking risky.
I like it. Let me rephrase
risky.
it. I like the song Rape. I don't like the concept or anything else, because God knows this thing will get cut and chopped up. But that's such a chuggy, droning riff, super heavy, great chorus to it. I'm gonna tell you, man, this is a 9 out of 10 for me. That's how much I like this album. I love the atmosphere on this album, because it just feels like a really thick, sludgy soup you can dive into, and you'll never get your way out of it. It's just, this is the one I listen to most.
Awesome. You said something about how spider walks, whatever. What I called that, and I termed it egg shape. And everything, like, it's circular. It's oval. It's like round, and it comes down harder on the bottom. Boom.
Right.
The way the groove is everything. So you're just like moving around and kind of the circular motion. And I owe a lot of that to Steve Jacobs. Steve Jacobs helped add to the hypnotic sound that we had, because he was such a great grooving drummer.
Okay, I was going to ask about Steve, because that dude is fucking. I'm going to tell you, I kind of like him better than Bostaff a little bit. I know that's
you're not alone. A lot of people have their preference.
There are some you've seen them, I'm sure. Maybe you even put them up. I don't know. I don't think you did, but there are some rehearsal videos, just fucking camcorder videos of you guys practicing in your rehearsal space, you and Tim and Steve. I don't think Russ is there, because I think they're just instrumental, and he is just fucking destroying the drums in those rehearsal videos, man. I mean, just his sense of fills and timing and shifting
melodic.
The time
he was a melodic drummer. He played melodically, and everything he did, he really thought about doing. And his drum fills, where Paul would improvise, Steve would have it very, very well worked out in his head and know exactly
Where did he come from?
How to hit.
Where did you find him?
Ohio. He came from Cincinnati.
Woo-hoo. But was he? Did he know that you got, like, he sent
he moved out to the Bay Area to hopefully. He was trying to join Heathen, and they didn't want him.
Okay.
And then he ended up walking into our studio, and we hit it off, and he blew our minds the first time that we played together. We're like, well, this becomes easier to play. Our songs just became easier to play. And Paul was great, dude. You cannot take away from the legend of Paul.
No.
But it's just a different vibe, And Steve just made it all easier.
Well, let me ask you this: Is he still around? Do you ever have any contact with him? Do you know what he's doing?
I do talk to Steve. I talk to everybody that was in Forbidden. Obviously Tim Calvert's not here to talk with anymore, but yeah, no, I talked to Steve, and we were in Manmade God together too.
Oh, right.
So,
you guys want to talk about this album quick, and then we'll get to the next to last two, and we'll rip through them quick.
Yep.
Go ahead, Nick.
All right. I'll be perfectly honest. This is the first time I've listened to Distortion and the next one, because these albums are really hard to fucking find. But I jammed them and I immediately noticed like the huge change in tone on them. Like, this is a very dark, foreboding album. Like you said, it was like sludgy. I feel like there's like this thick fog that's kind of all over this, and like, I don't know, like the songs are kind of creepy and eerie at times. I really loved Undertaker. Like, that was a big standout for me because it has like a New Orleans sludge metal vibe to it, like a little bit of down in it, and like kind of like crowbar-ish riffs. You know, I did not expect to hear that coming off of Twisted and Informed, because there's still some thrashy riffs. There's some really good chuggy ones, but a lot of this is more moody and dark. Russ's vocals adapted really well too. He kind of like dropped it down a little bit. It sounds more sinister, more dark, and again, like just a really just interesting album. Like, in terms of this period of metal, like the nadir of metal for some, I think it forced bands to be, you know, kind of creative and shifting around their sound. And I think this one did really well in terms of like, all right, well, we're gonna not be like a straightforward thrash band, but we're still gonna have those elements and still change around our sound and still write something that is brooding and dark and very metal. And we're not writing the Black Album, because that already happened. But yeah, I like this album, and I do want to throw in, Rape, fucking awesome song.
Dennis, what you got?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
No, not a problem.
Here's a CD.
Oh, before you go any further, though, Dennis, hang on one sec. Hold that up a minute. Craig, why the fuck does Distortion have like 15 different artwork things going on for it?
Well, I already covered that. It was all the different labels. Every label wanted their own cover.
Okay.
They wanted to have it different so that people would buy it because it was different than the other one.
Okay.
And the only one that we gave permission to the original one, Kent Matthews one, with the riot in the business district, and the pallbearers carrying the fucking.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, those cover was never finished because the label said we need that tomorrow when he was still sketching it in. So he colored it in overnight and sent it to them. Literally, this is old school where you had to send shit overnight on a plane.
Who did that artwork?
It wasn't scanned. Kent Matthews, who did the first two album covers, did that one too. Okay. And he did Omega Wave too. So yeah, it was never done, but the concept was amazing, and I would have loved to have seen it if we would have been able to actually color that in properly and finish it with the detail that Ken has, because it was a great concept. So
it had a bit of a Ed Repka vibe to it, a little bit, just a little bit, not as cartoony, but
yeah. I feel like Kent came even before Repka, because he was doing shit for fucking Fang and did, mid 80s fucking old school shit. He's a fucking legend, just a legend. So is Repka, but Repka came about 86 when I think Repka came around. No, Repka came around 85 with Peace Cells. There you go. But anyway, continue.
All right.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah,
I want to get Craig out here shortly.
I think this is a very underrated record that nobody really knows about. Super heavy. For the time, I think it was doing something a little different than what a lot of bands were doing at the time, especially in 97. It's just more, it still had those vocals from Russ. I mean, he was still singing. So, and then it was mixed with like this sludgy fucking riffage, and it just sounds fucking amazing. I just wish more people could hear this record. I know it's super hard to find, but yeah, some of my favorite songs are I like the opening track, No Reason. That's a heavy fucking track. Feed the Hand is a great track. Epic. And the vocals, somehow it reminds me of Iced Earth. I don't think that's even on the what you guys were thinking, but to me, I hear that.
I'd never heard of them. I didn't hear of Iced Earth, just so you know, until well into the 2000s.
Okay.
I just never came across my radar. Yeah.
It's just a vocal, the way he sings. Mind's Eye has like churning heavy riffs and just sludgy
so good,
fucking banger of a record that people don't know about, and they should definitely check out.
Well, and the other thing too,
Very
man,
cool.
You gotta mention, if we didn't mention already, if you thought the solos were killer on Twisted, man. The solos on Distortion
Yeah.
are just out of fucking control. There's just so many killer solos on there. All right, we'll move on real quick to Green. We talked about the trap thing. Green came out on 3/21/97 on this was on Gun or Pavement, Craig?
It came out on Gun in Europe and Pavement in the United States.
Okay, so same sort of deal on the last one then.
Yeah, instead of Massacre, yeah.
And you used Patrick Coughlin again?
Yes, we did. He was a tight friend by this point. He was kind of our sixth member. You know,
killer. Where'd you record that one at? I didn't find any.
Same place. We did both those albums. We did both those albums at a place called the Music Annex in Palo Alto.
Okay.
Had a great SSL board in there that we were using.
All right, so, I'm going to let these guys give their thoughts, and then maybe you can give me a story real quick from this one, and then we'll get you out of it on the last album. What you got, Nick, on Green? You don't. Oh, by the way, I have Green. I don't think you own it, right, Nick?
No.
And Dennis, did you find yours, or don't you have it?
No, I do own it. I just
it's on digital. It's digital now. They put it out there, so it's not fucked up.
Well, I own it. I own it. I have a Pavement copy that I bought a couple months ago for $9 on eBay. I thought that was the steal of the century, but unfortunately, I packed it away with a bunch of shit last night like an idiot. So, I have tons of CDs sitting around. I put it away. But what do you got, Nick, on this one?
This one was really strange. Like this is a very odd album, like to the point where if it didn't say Forbidden on it, I wouldn't really even think this was Forbidden. Russ's vocals are very different in here. Like there's more harsh vocals, and stylistically it's really all over the place. Like the opening track was it what is the last time going into Green?
Yeah,
that's like some of my favorite stuff on here. I like as soon as it starts, like, ooh, did they go Doom? Because it has like a Trouble-ish vibe to it, and I fucking love Trouble, the band.
It does.
And I really dig that. But as the album goes on, it really kind of shifts around to the point where I feel like they're like, just like trying on different hats and such, just to see, like, all right, well, let's see what this works. There's like some stuff in here that reminds me of the Melvins, like very sludgy, very strange, lots of vocal filters. It's odd, and admittedly, it is a little hard to get into. Like, there are some songs I really do like Blank and Fat, P-H-A-T, which I just like seeing that word again because I remember when that was a big thing back in the 90s, saying fat.
Well, there's a story behind that. But...
And Face Down Heroes. But there's just some stuff in here that's just like, man, this is odd. Like, and, like, even though, the last album, with Distortion, there was definitely some changes. It was still very recognizable as Forbidden. Like, I still hear all the hallmarks of their sound. It's just different. It's a little bit darker, a little bit groovier. And this sounds like a new band almost entirely. I love the drum work, though. I think the drum work is probably one of my biggest takeaways. Like, I think it's just really fucking well done. But yeah, I don't know. This is just sort of an odd album, but it's still pretty enjoyable.
I think Nick was trying really hard not to say new metal.
I had it written down and I didn't want to say it.
Hang on. This album is not new metal, man. I do not hear new metal in this. I do hear, Craig, don't get pissed at me. I do hear a little Pantera here and there, little smidges here and there. But
yeah, no, as I stated earlier, that you can't help but be a little bit like Pantera was a great band,
Sure.
Musically, whatever you think of the sum of the parts, they were an incredible influence and tightened everybody up. And they added groove to music, which was sorely lacking. Yep. And the reason why thrash metal kind of dissipated in the first place, because things just started to get very sterile, and it was better when it was just thrashy, right? And then all of a sudden, music changes, and then all this grunge comes along, and then at least Pantera fucking around 1990 came in and just grooved. And that really kind of and Sepultura, they both had incredible groove, incredible drummers.
So for me, Cowboys through fucking Far Beyond Driven, man. Those 3 albums are
Oh, God, fuck.
just
They're all incredible. Let's
next
stay on target.
Yep.
Right. So
Okay.
listen,
Dennis,
let me give you my
Oh,
okay.
you want to go?
I do.
Go ahead.
Well, you done? Did you finish? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
No, I was going to get the other
Go ahead.
guys, then we'll hit you last.
Well,
all right.
Okay.
Dennis, what you got on this one?
All right. So this album was kind of a blind buy. I just saw the name and I was like, oh, I'm going to check this out. I liked the last one. Let me check this out. And yeah, just a completely different album. I mean, definitely makes sense for the times. Like you mentioned, I can hear some Chaos AD in there, some Pantera, and I'm not a big Pantera fan, so yeah, I'd rather listen to this than Pantera, that's for sure. But
that's mean.
yeah, it's a cool album. I like a lot of the stuff. Yeah, I wish Russ's voice had more stayed in that vein as even on the last album. But yeah, it's got some cool songs. I like Turns to Rage, super chunky, heavy riffs.
Yeah.
Over the Middle is a pretty killer thrasher with it almost has like some Ministry influence to it that I can hear. Focus definitely has I could hear some early Machine Head stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, I mean, it's a good record, and I think it's another one that's overlooked, and I get it at the time, and there was a kind of a lot of these bands, like not new metal, but there was some new metal bands. I don't think this is new metal at all.
Nah.
It just has a more groove flow to it, and like I said, this is what this is what music was at the time, so it makes perfect sense. And I wouldn't expect them to come out with Forbidden Evil, but yeah, I mean, good record. I like it. Obviously, not my sort of style I would go to, especially for Forbidden, but overall, I think it's a good album for the time it came out.
It's hard doing this reviewing shit when the guy that wrote all that shit sitting right down there in the corner, isn't it?
Yeah, if he wasn't here, I'd be like, this shit sucks, man.
Okay, here's my thing. It's a 7.5 out of 10 for me because a couple of the tracks don't hit. But man, that first track, What Is the Last Time? Brain exploding, man. Just the way Russ's voice is recorded and all the fucking droning. It's got like, that Dawn Crosby album, Within the Veil, Fear of God.
Yeah.
Fear of God, the album Fear of God with Dawn Crosby from Detente. It's weird, man. Like her vocals sound like that throughout the album, but Russ captured that sound. So do you know that one, Craig? Fear of God?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Killer fucking album. Anyway, that first song blows my mind. And then it goes into fucking Green, which is just that staccato, fucking crushing, dissonant riffs, man. It's just like getting pummeled in the face in a beautiful way. I love Turns to Rage, atmospheric verses, anthemic chorus, the wah wah section, deranged. What is this? Is it Can of Worms? I like that one a lot. Russ's fucking vocals on that. He's off the chain. Blank is super fucking cool. That's the Dark Horse ballad on the album. I love that song, man. The Focus is very cool too. And I believe what's the one I got here? Is it Nonsense? Yeah, Nonsense. I'm sorry. I
Nonsense. The IRS song. Yes.
Yeah, that's got some great fucking riffs in it. Some super cool solos. You always get badass solos with Forbidden albums, so that's kind of a no-brainer. But
that'd be Tim Calvert right there. Tim was it was great bluesy solo on that one.
Well, let me turn it over to you. What do you want to tell us about Green and defend your honor with these two cretins who kind of pissed all? I'm just.
There's no. I don't. First of all,
I'm kidding.
I don't need to defend anything because I feel like Green is. I think you guys did hit on a lot of it. It was an inevitable progression in the climate that we were in, where we were getting very little support from anybody, and we were fucking angry. That was the most angry album I've ever done, from front to back. I feel like lyrically, a lot of it I was writing about myself. and what I was going through, and not really knowing that I was writing about myself. I feel like what is the last time, while it's a departure from what anybody would have expected, was if you go and you put that song on now lyrically and you actually read those lyrics and you look what's happening and you see what's going on in the world today, it is exact. I mean, a lot of Forbidden songs do that. A lot of them tie right into it. Feed the Hand is one that'll completely tie into it. You know, there's a lot of things that are going on. And that album wasn't as much new metal as it was before new metal and before things had completely gotten into that mode that came after. When I was doing Manmade God, that was when new metal came up. When I went out and went to metal shows again in like the late 90s, very end of the 90s and early 2000s, I would run into these bands, Slipknot, Shadows Fall, Lamb of God, all these guys, and they'd be green. It was one of their most their pulled out influences. The first Slipknot album is full of green influences. Face Down Heroes, that little if you go back and listen to any of that shit on fucking the Slipknot record, that kind of breakdown right there is what they did. Half of their shit was based on that kind of stuff. And Joey Jordison told me that straight out. He's like, dude, I used a lot of green on that album because he wrote the majority of the music. You know?
That's cool.
And so I learned a lot. Green became an album that was a gateway backwards for some folks that thrust a new genre forwards as just one of the many calling cards of influences. It wasn't our best album, but it was our fucking angriest album. And by the time I was done with it, I wasn't mad anymore. I got rid of all. I exercised all those demons of myself personally. I'd worked out my shit, and that was when I was done. And the label had offered us to do a tour with Manowar in Europe. I said, I'm done. Like I'm going to go in a new direction because I'm not going to open up for Manowar with a record this strong and be put into that fucking category. And for better or worse, I made a very big decision, was why Calvert really resented me for a while, because I just was like, that's it. I'm out. I got to work on a new chapter of my life here. So that was why, it was the death blow to Forbidden in that time, because the label didn't understand the record. It was a little ahead of its time, and it was definitely a departure. But it was the roots were all there. It was the same band that recorded Distortion. We had just taken another couple of years, and things had gotten weird out there, and the scene was just as weird as it was when we fucking did Distortion. And if it wasn't going to be received well immediately, we weren't going to be into it. So it ended up getting received well later, a lot. And some people say it's their very favorite Forbidden record, if you guys can imagine that.
I've seen that, yeah.
And these are people in big fucking bands.
Yeah.
I understand. It's not my favorite Forbidden record, but it's definitely one that helped. The bridge between that and Forbidden Evil is Omega Wave. That's the exact that's the two things completely put together, and where it all fucking finally melted. And you had all that thrash influence and melodic shit with all the brutality that was on Green too.
Excuse me.
All right, we're going to get into that in 1 sec. I had one quick question about these. What tunings were you using from beginning to now at this point? Because you're definitely not in the same tuning these last two albums that you were on the first two albums. Were you in E flat or E?
Well, we were in E for the first two completely.
Okay.
And then we dropped down a half step for the next one. And then on Green, I think we did a lot of it in C sharp. And then we even took C sharp, and then we dropped C sharp down, and whatever that is. Was it
B?
Is it B?
B sharp.
We're in B.
B sharp. B. Yeah, B. I guess it would be. Yeah.
B sharp. Yeah, B. So
B,
like Focus was in B. What is the last time? I think was in B. Yeah, it's fun. I had a 62 SG Les Paul, and so I and Tim had a couple of hard tails too. So it was fun, kind of playing with our Sabbath influences a little bit, and that's what we did. And
No.
What Is the Last Time is very Black Sabbath.
Big, it is very.
That was what I was going for. I was definitely going for that.
Wheels of Confusion, or how about
Just something on Volume 4 for sure.
When did you get tied in with Dean then? How long's that been?
First time I got a Dean was when I was out on tour with Manmade God in 2003. Dave Vincent talked us into coming over to the factory and checking it out. And then that was the first time I was like, oh shit. And they gave me an Evo that I still have sitting over there. I got to pick any guitar I wanted off the wall, and it was the best sounding one. Very Les Paul-ish.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really, really beautiful guitar. And that started, and then years later it came back around. Like what is it? 5 years later, I came back around with Forbidden Reformed and cultivated a real relationship.
I have a Jones for a Cadillac, like an original Cadillac, but they're hard to find, and they're way, way out of my price range for like an original. But they're such
Cadillacs,
a cool looking guitar.
Yeah, they gave me a Cadillac was my next guitar from them.
Oh, you have one?
No, I got rid of it.
Don't.
I gave it back to him because I really, my singer from Manmade God is all that's ugly. And I was like, you're kind of right. It just didn't work for me at the moment, and I wish I would have kept it.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. So
just,
94, Distortion comes out, 97, Green comes out, right? That's kind of it then. You're saying I'm not going out with Hail and Kill, and you kind of decide, you know what, I need to do other things.
No tunics and fucking greased up chests for me, buddy.
No, you're not man enough for Joey DeMaio. Come on, man.
Nope. Hold DeMaio.
So you leave, and I guess the band pretty much then disintegrates at that point, correct?
We all leave. I told the guys that I'm gonna fucking put this to bed, and they weren't gonna take it over because they weren't really, another thing about that album is that Calvert was very not. It wasn't one thing about it. It wasn't really for him because it was so aggressive that really Steve and I wrote most of that record, and Tim just kind of begrudgingly added his parts. And it had a few great parts here and there, but he wasn't like, it was really too heavy for him. It was just wasn't the kind of heavy that he liked. And I understood that because he was true to who he really was. And it was like, you guys are just so angry and fucking, I'm angry, but I don't feel this isn't my jam, So a lot of that record, he was kind of like, he wasn't feeling it. And when I said I quit, and then he's like, well, what do you mean you quit? I was like, well, you weren't feeling it anyway. So, but when I quit, I wanted to just start brand new with nobody that was in that band and see what I could do. But both Matt and Steve Jacobs just said, absolutely no way we're going to not go with you. Whatever you do, I want to do. And I was like, dude, that's going to be weird because it's going to seem like we're moving ourselves over here away from these two guys. And that wasn't what my intention was at all. I was trying to move away from all four guys.
Everyone,
just for a fresh start. No problem with anybody. I had no issues. It's just like we just needed. Forbidden had been going since 1985, and it was basically 12 years by then. And that seemed like when you're in your 20s, a long fucking time.
Oh yeah.
Jesus, we go for 12 years and 4 albums, and this is all we got to show for it. So that was my intention. But then we started Manmade God together, which was a very experimental thing for a while.
And that's a cool album.
Out our direction.
Maybe we'll talk about some of that other stuff in the future. It's a good album. I like that album. Did that
people cry over that album. People cry over that album, Jeff. They literally get teary-eyed when they tell me how much they love that. There you go. Because there's emotions on that album. Other bands, very few bands could hit the heights that we hit emotionally on that record. So
I thought maybe it was when you saw the price tag on it at the end.
Oh God. Yeah, I cry.
Yeah, I bet. So you did Man-Made God. That album didn't come out right away. It took forever to come out. It was production hell. Yeah, and again, I want to point people to go to Zetro's Toxic Vault to check out the 8-part series that Zet and Craig did about 3. It's crazy. That's 3 fucking years ago already. But he's also did a recent podcast with Rob on No Fucking Regrets. About 6 months ago, May, something like that. And those go
Yeah,
really
right when
into
the
super
Boneless Ones
detail.
record came out. Yeah.
Yeah, and you go into a lot of incredible good detail. Not that you have it here tonight. This has been beyond my dreams.
I think we've hit on some other stuff here today. It was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. We're gonna do Omega Wave, and I'm gonna get you out of here back to your family, okay? So we'll do Omega Wave quick. That came out on 10/22/10. It should be noted this is the first album by Forbidden in 13 years. It includes Mark Hernandez on drums, Craig obviously, Matt Camacho on bass, and Steve Smythe on guitars. Did I get everybody? And Russ.
Yeah, and Russ. Yeah.
And Russ, yeah. And came out on Nuclear Blast, and it was produced by your old buddy or your old partner in Spiral Arms, Tim Narducci, and you.
He helped produce it. It was him and I produced it, yeah.
Where did you record that at? Was that on home studios, or did you use real studios?
No, we use Real Studio. I was recorded at Audio Voyage, which is in Livermore, in the sort of Spiral Arms home base. Our keyboardist, B3 organ player owns it, and it's a really cool studio. It's not huge, but it's big enough, and it's fucking got all the gear. It's a really great sounding room too. But we recorded drums in L.A. We recorded drums in L.A. at Eric Kretz from Stone Temple Pilots. This place called the Bomb Shelter. Right. It's not there anymore, but that's where Rollins did all the Rollins shows. At that place. Okay. Amazing, huge drum room.
One quick question before I hit the guys up here. Did you guys use 7 strings? Did Steve use a 7 string on this?
No.
Okay, man, it sounds super detuned.
It's not. It's not. The entire thing is in it's a lot of it's actually it's dropped. It's in D and then drop C sharp. It's in drop C sharp out of D.
So you're playing D
songs are actually in.
Yeah.
A couple songs. I'm sorry. That's incorrect. It's a half step down into C sharp. So we were a half step down. Some of the songs are in E flat.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it seems lower than it is because I think I got better at writing crafty kind of. I mean, C sharp's low enough. I mean, it's about as low as I really, wanted to get on that one because Russ's voice. You just have to. It has to really work with his voice.
All right, let me hit these guys up, and then we'll come back to you to tie everything up real quick. Go ahead, Nick, and give me your thoughts on Omega Wave.
Awesome album. I bought this the day it came out, and honestly, all right, since I had not heard the 2 previous, hearing Russ do harsher vocals kind of caught me off guard. I was like, whoa, hold on, he's the more singing guy, but singing that with his clean vocals, honestly, it was like, oh, hold on, this is pretty awesome. And honestly, this kind of came at a cool point because it was refreshing to hear an old thrash band come back with a new album that wasn't mixed and produced by Andy Sneap, because I like Andy Sneap as a producer, but almost all of his mixes sound the same. This sounds just big and beefy, and the songs in here are really cool. A lot of just different stuff. Forsaken at the Gates is an absolute ass kicker of a opener, but you get the stuff like Swine, where it's a little bit more moody and atmospheric. There's riffs on there that kind of remind me of that same melodic dissonance you hear in Mastodon albums. And it fucking works. God, what other ones? I gotta look at my notes on this one. Dude, the breakdown on Dragging My Casket. Jesus Christ, that's fucking heavy. Inhuman Race. There's a good mix of stuff that you instantly associate with the older sound, from the first 2 albums, but also elements of the 2 previous albums, but I think just, mixed up better. This pretty much, as Craig said, now that he said it, it really sticks in my head. This is kind of the bridge. Like there's a little bit of everything they've done on here, and I think it's done exceptionally fucking well. So yeah, love this album.
Awesome.
Right on.
You redeemed yourself.
Well,
All right.
you didn't need to.
All right,
Nobody
Dennis,
needed to redeem himself.
Dennis, you can fuck it all up right now.
Let's go, Dennis. You can do it.
Go for it, Dennis. Go for it.
I actually like this album.
Woohoo.
You know, a lot of bands try to reform, and especially after that many years, and come out with something that sounds completely different, or it sounds like they still don't have any kind of chemistry together. It's just like a money grab, or like we're gonna do a festival, so let's come out with a record or something like that. But this sounds like a record that's well put together, well thought out, and yeah, it's a banger. Forsaken at the Gates definitely has rougher vocals on this record, but I like them. That's an aggressive thrasher. Dragging My Casket, killer guitar work on that.
Oh yeah.
It almost has like a traditional metal feel to it. I love that song. Hope Gnosis is a fucking badass song. Love the riffs and vocals on that one. Immortal Wounds has like some Ozzy type vocals. I thought it was fucking Ozzy. I was like, did Ozzy sing on this? It's like on the I think it's a chorus or something. There's a couple parts on there. And then Omega Wave just is a badass fucking thrasher. Again, like for 2010, I mean, this is an album that put all of, you know, what I think Forbidden had done. And for the time, I mean, it came out, it was just like a great comeback record, or just a record in general that I thought, well, like I said, stands on its own in all of the discography. And yeah, great record. Love it.
Killer.
Thank you.
For me, it's killer record. Great sound. Production's really killer on it. Forsaken, obviously, is kind of like that really grab you by the balls track that gets you, you know, like pumped, and you're like, oh, cool, you know, this is just killer. Russ's cleans on this song are awesome. The solos are fucking Steve Smythe, Craig Locicero, Steve Smythe, killer. Swine, dark, angular, jagged, retro to twisted vibe on this one, crushingly heavy. Dragging My Casket, you know, it's weird to hear Russ sing. I don't want to call it pop, because this Dragging My Casket does have a little bit of a, if you stripped out all the heavy guitars off of it, we kind of almost have a pop sort of vibe to it. But man, his voice on that song is so fucking good. Hope Gnosis, that might be my most favorite one on there. Such a memorable vocal track. Again, the solos are incredible, melodic yet super fucking heavy. That's kind of the theme of this album, is it's very melodic, but it's crushingly heavy. And the last track, man, fucking Omega Wave. That, you know, did you write that specifically, Craig, or was that you and Steve, or?
I wrote most of. I mean, everything. Steve and I would. He was living in England, so we'd send stuff back and forth. And he wrote some of the record. I'd say the songs, and I put his name on the songs that he like kind of had the first riff that would come in. It'd be what is it? What's this third song? Second to last song on there? Behind the Mask.
Behind the Mask.
And in Human Race, yeah, he had that little intro. So
that
droning, you know, if someone comes up with something to start, that's how they get. Yeah. So yeah, but you know, for the most part, a lot of that was written. Like two of those songs, Hope Gnosis and Adapt or Die, I already written before he even got through the door. Yeah, so what you have here is an album that has the benefit of hindsight and watching other people. You guys hit it all right on. I got to say, you didn't fuck any of that up, because you guys hit it right on all in the head, because we had the benefit of not only our own mistakes to learn from and waiting years to do an album, but watching other bands do albums where it was underwhelming. Some of them were great. Other ones, you're like, we didn't. First of all, when I did the Forbidden reunion shows, I went into it with zero intention of writing a new record, zero intention of continuing on the Forbidden beyond those festivals. I was just doing it to honor the end of it, the ending of the band. And then some shit happened at home, and things went a little sideways with Spiral Arms. I got accused of things that weren't happening, and that they were thinking I was going to just take this to the finish line and do a whole new record. I wasn't. I said in one interview, I might go home and think about writing a riff, maybe. And that got taken out of context and thrown in my face, like, you're going to write a whole record. And it got so weird that I was like, fuck it, I'll try it now. Fuck you, you know? And we've all worked it out since then, but it was really a fucked up. It was probably the lowest day of my life, the day that I got accused of that when I wasn't actually doing it. I don't think I ever really felt worse aside from when family members or friends died. It was just like horrible.
Wow.
I was so dedicated to my band. But it really put me on blast to do something to the utmost of my abilities and, you know, grab the bull by the horns for the once in my life with complete control and say, all right, you know, everybody helped, but this was my vision. Lyrically, it is from front to back the soundtrack of every fucking conspiracy and crazy thing you've ever fucking heard, wrapped up in one. Dragging My Casket describes what you ended up with January 6th, fucking 2021, you know, when shit went fucking sideways. That's the epitome of like what I saw coming. Because I mean, I'm a conspiracy guy to a certain degree, but you know, once you get past aliens and 9/11 and shit, I'm kind of getting out of it, you know. So like I started to see this whole kind of bubbling to the surface, and I saw myself bubbling to the surface. Like I need to step out because if you're, you know, I realized back then that if you're not dedicating your life to something and you're not like, you know, of born into this families or you know, in the CIA or military fucking strategist, it's out of your lane, and you're just fucking a hobbyist talking about shit. You're just talking.
Yep.
You're not doing anything. And then if you're ones that puts your money where your mouth is, you run the risk of fucking completely immersing yourself in bullshit and information that's spread across so many fucking different channels. And so that's why I said, you know, there's the whole thing in Omega Wave, you know, lost in the white noise of disinformation, you know, losing yourself. It's all in there, dude. And I recently lost a friend who jumped into the QAnon thing and lost his life to accusations and things you can't prove and feelings. And that's what that album's really, a lot of it's written about that. And to me, is, you know, I was thinking about, I started to write another album after that, but once Russ was waning his interest and started not being into doing as many shows anymore, I said, that's it. I've pushed this elephant up the hill far enough. That album's great. If it's the last thing Forbidden ever does, and they bury it in a time capsule, and you know, people pick it out and go, oh, wow, that's their fucking best record after all, isn't it? It might not be the best, but it's as good as any of them. And for that reason, I'm very proud of it. And I've washed my hands, you know, I got it all out there.
Yeah, it's an 8. That's an 8 out of 10 for me, and it's very, very listenable.
Oh, what a dick!
Yeah, get him.
All right, I'll give it an 8.25. Okay,
dick. No, you give it your 8. You give it your 8. It's all good. I'm with you.
So we're gonna wrap up fairly quickly here, but I did want to give Nick and Dennis a chance to ask you a question or two, and you got like 10 minutes, and then we'll wrap it. Yeah, we'll wrap it.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, cool. You guys got anything for him? I do have one question I want you to think about. Don't answer it right away though, but think about this question because it kind of applies to Dennis as well too. As a final question, do you think we as fans, me, Nick, you know, Dennis, all these YouTubers, all the guys that do this shit, and the guys that come to your shows, I mean, do you think we as fans that maybe didn't live in the Bay Area, do we sort of have a romanticized vision of what was going on out there during the heyday of thrash developing and building into this, world domination sort of thing. And by world domination, I don't mean it became the medium that everybody listened to, but it became a thing. So think about that a little bit. And I'm going to turn it over to Nick to ask a question.
I don't know if, because I mean, I've heard so many like awesome fucking stories and like the inside track and all these albums. I can't rightly think of anything offhand. Shit. Like I said, benefit of like hearing all this stuff is like, oh, that would have been one of my questions. Well, fuck. That's awesome. I do think, like, honestly, like one of the most fascinating things was the whole Green conversation about how that, next generation of like metal bands, the, new metal, proto new metal, whatever it was, like they took that as a big influence. Like, honestly, like listening to it and actually after hearing you bring that up, I was like, I could totally see that, because I had that, like, I think I wrote in like Vision of Disorder, Helmet, Melvins, like those bands that, like people called them maybe metal, but they were like, well, they're more hardcore or more this or that, but it's definitely like cool, heavy, expressive music. And I don't know, I thought that in particular was really interesting. And yeah, I can't think of anything offhand, but dude, it's been awesome just talking, like legit fucking sweet.
Yeah, it's been super cool you giving this time.
I just want to say that as far as the realizing all that stuff, it was news to me too, dude. I didn't know. I would just randomly meet people. Because for years I really didn't. I was kind of turned off by the whole metal scene because it bummed me out. I was like, fuck, man. Where did it all go? And then where was I? I went and experimented. Fucking, it's like I went 40 days and 40 nights and fucking fasted and tried different things and really learned how to write songs. And that's another reason why Omega Wave is so good, because I learned how to write better. I learned how to write more epic tales, so yeah, it was news to me. I didn't know Green being an influence came up later in my life. I had no fucking clue.
No, it's awesome just to dive into these albums too, like hearing like the different growth and all that. Jeff, where did you go?
Oh, he's here. If he wasn't here, this thing would be over, right? All right, you're next.
All right. For me, just thanks. Good talking to you. Like, what do you think? I mean, I definitely love that new Boneless Ones record. Did you write?
Oh yeah, badass. Thank you. Yeah, I wrote a ton of music on that.
Okay.
What's that?
Yeah,
I didn't write any lyrics. I wrote no lyrics.
Okay.
Yeah, Max writes all the lyrics. He's a great storyteller. He can put it in 5 sentences, and it's fucking. Yeah, I'm much more when I write. So he's amazing at what he does.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Just I'm glad that you're still in the scene and still writing music with these guys. And I grew up, listening to all that stuff, Boneless Ones, Attitude Adjustment, all those bands. Going to all the, the Stone, the Farm, Maboué, all those places. And yeah, the scene was fucking awesome, Jeff. It wasn't over romanticized.
Okay. Well, no, it wasn't. Well, you know Chris Contos then, and you know how great he is, and he's waiting for me to call him back because he's wants to see if I want to go to Catatonia tonight. I'm not sure if I'd want to, but
ooh.
Yeah, I might. I don't know.
Heard their show's pretty good, man. Buddy of mine just went to the Philly show the other night. Heard it was pretty killer.
Well, it's also in San Francisco, playing at the Great American Music Hall, which is like, it takes me 50 minutes to make it there, and I got to drive home. Anyway, about the scene. Again, hindsight. Like when you're living in it, you just think this is how it is, right? You're just like, this is how it is here. But looking back at it now, and why Bay Area International works, even why this whole thing is the way it is because in our scene, we came to realize that we're all survivors. We came to realize that we're lucky to be doing what we've done, or have done, and to continue doing what we're doing. We're lucky that people care throughout the world enough to give any kind of relevance to a genre that when so many genres have come and gone, Bay Area thrash still has staying power, and it reaches across from people in their fucking 70s to fucking kids that are 7. And not many other genres in the world do that. especially genres in heavy music, which are so taste centric, or trendy.
Yeah.
So what we have, when you're in it, you don't realize it, but looking back, it was pretty special, but it was just normal for us. But when I look into the eyes of my peers, I've been telling them lately, it's like, what we understand now is that we survived this. We did it together. A lot of our friends have fallen. We're still here. It's a great appreciation for one another and the music we made and the camaraderie and friendship. And when we see each other, it's something I don't think you're going to get everywhere else. And you couldn't do a Bay Area International. Oh, well, it wouldn't be Bay Area anywhere else, but you couldn't do an International in any other scene in the world like you can here, because how many bands are going to be willing to not play their own songs and to get up on stage and stand next to each other, learning somebody else's shit, putting the work in because you saw that fucking years at Ruthie's, at the Omni, at Stone, whatever. It's pretty special, man. So it is as special as it was all hyped up to be now, looking back at it. But at the time, it was just what it was.
It'd be badass. Just spitballing here, but the Decibel Fest in Philly, man,
I've heard of it.
PAI there would be killer.
Well, it's not a cheap fucking nut, dude.
I know.
It's not a cheap nut because you got a lot of people you're flying in, and then you're putting special guests up on stage with you. I had a room backstage to fucking rehearse, where I got a jam Fight Fire with Randy twice before we walked up on stage and did it. You know what I mean?
Who did Creeping Death with you? Who was the singer on that? That was
Mark Osagueda. Mark Osagueda.
No. I'm talking about in San Francisco.
Oh, that was Skinner. Again, Skinner did that, and Skinner did a lot of that stuff here.
That guy's
phenomenal.
fucking
phenomenal. Like I told you, if I wanted to do Forbidden 2.0, he'd be my guy.
Okay. Well, listen, I want to get you out of here. I had one last thing to ask you about that I forgot earlier. When you were with Manmade God, you went out on tour, I believe, with the Typo Negative dudes. How was that?
We played a show with Typo Negative.
Just one?
At the House of Blues in Anaheim, and it was fucking epic. And Pete loved us. He totally he's I like you. Watch our sound check. He's I like the fucking band, bro. He
didn't pull out the Playgirl, did he? Never mind.
No.
Well, listen, man, this has been super fucking killer, Craig. I never envisioned you'd give me this much time, and I can't thank you enough. And
that makes two of us.
Well, geez, that was really. I think it was no. It wasn't.
Just go ahead.
It was a backhanded compliment. Yes, but
I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was cool for you.
Dude, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't have spent this long doing it. I would have come up with reasons. But I had to get you to stay on target a few times. But yeah,
I like to talk about tangential music a lot. So
it's kind of part of the course.
If you ever watched, and you won't, but if you ever wanted to watch a deep dive on Opeth that goes literally 8 fucking hours.
Woo!
Yeah.
My son loves Opeth too. He's a big Opeth guy. He likes the prog stuff.
Cool. Couple quick notes real quick. Dennis, we got to get a date down for our 80s thing. Are we going to try to do that this weekend, or are you not there?
Yeah, I'm free.
Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday or Saturday, I'm good.
Or would you rather do Saturday?
Let's do Saturday.
All right. We're doing a flashback 80s thing where we're going to review the first 4 Aldo Nova albums, the 4 Zebra albums. The 4 Zebra albums. Hang on, don't be laughing, man. I heard you singing Fantasy the other day on that Rob interview. And
Fantasy. Yeah, but I didn't know he had 4 albums.
He had 4 albums. Yeah,
he wasn't aware, and Aldo Nova wasn't aware of Green.
He probably didn't know about it. Yeah, you're right. But and Stone Fury. Do you know that band, Stone Fury?
Only heard of them.
Lenny Wolf from Kingdom Come. They put out 2 albums. First one's a banger, dude. The second one's pretty lame. But so Dennis and I are going to do that, and then I've got a Cure disc. We're deep dive in Cure the weekend afterward. Next weekend, not this
Holy
weekend. Not going
smoke.
to get to that. Yeah, that's going to be
You
pretty
guys
intense.
you guys are well-rounded and eccentric, which I am as well. My musical tastes are all over. My favorite living band is
Beatles.
Radiohead.
Oh,
I
dude,
love
dude,
Radiohead.
today. Oh my god,
Love it.
I fucking dude.
There's not a the only album I don't love by Radiohead is Pablo Honey.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that one either.
Yep, that's the one.
But,
That's, yeah.
the Bends is my personal favorite. The Bends
Rainbows.
really, I didn't mention it, but it really started my journey into writing green as well, because I just need something refreshing in my life, and it really fucking got me going and launched me into my next trajectory of trying to be fearless about whatever I do. And ever since then, I've been living by that mantra. They've been not that I want to sound like them ever. I just
how
love
to
the fact
disappear
that
completely.
they sound like nobody.
That is just gut wrenching. I love it.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Anyway, Dennis, I'll talk to you privately after we go. Craig, thank you so much, man. This has been, super fucking cool. I'm actually glad you called me before we started the stream, because I was literally like fucking like having like nervous puke moments. I was like, dude, what is up with this, man? You're not, it's just Craig. He's just this guy in a fucking, thrash band.
Is fucking legendary. Oh god,
it's just a fucking legend. Yeah.
Well, the one thing I've learned about this whole thing about all it means is you're getting old. Like if you're survive again, I refer it back to being a survivor. If you survive long enough, then people start calling you things like that. But that's not definitely, even the guys we call legends, they all take a shit and hopefully wipe the right direction, right? I mean, we're all fucking just dudes.
Exactly, man.
You know what I do right now? My son got a fucking job, and I got to take him at 2 a.m. to fucking FedEx and pick him up at like 7 or 8 in the morning, fucking because he didn't have a car yet. I'm like, so this is life. This is just what we do music is what we do to escape that shit.
Absolutely, man. Well, I hope I can make it out there. I haven't been out to the Bay Area since 05 or 06, I guess. Loved it out there. It's super cool. Been out a couple of times. Been to the original Fillmore and blah, blah, blah. Seen Porcupine Tree out at the Great American, actually.
Wow. Yeah. I might go there again tonight. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much. And Nick and Dennis, thank you guys for being on the tab and waiting around and jumping in. And your input always is killer. And, I'm sure Craig's going to be a loyal subscriber to my YouTube channel now. He'll be like,
I will. I've already watched this. My fingers going, boop. Oh, look, I am a loyal subscriber right now.
Look at you.
Unsubscribing.
You got to be one of the guys that goes and you got to be, we'll unsubscribe as soon as we hang up. But you got to go check out our Triumph deep dive. Not enough people are watching our Triumph deep dive. Damn it!
The best band at the US Festival.
Fucking killer band.
They sounded so fucking good, dude. I watched that shit and I was like,
were you at the show? Were you there?
No.
Oh, you were.
I just moved to the Bay Area and hell of my friends went, but I wasn't allowed to go. My mom wasn't about to let me, my 13-year-old self, go down to the US Festival.
You'll be down there smoking pot, kid. I'm not
definitely, without a doubt, that would have definitely happened.
All right, man.
Anyway, guys, I do got to go. I got to go. Thank you, everybody. It was awesome.
Pleasure chatting, man.
Thanks, dude. We'll see you, man. You guys hang for 1 second. See you, Craig.
All right. Oh, I got a fucking piss, so.
Okay. I'm ending the stream.